think this is the right one. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Second Wind. Marty and Darren here, and we're finally doing it. I believe we've promised it for literal years, possibly at a website and channel neither of us work for anymore, of Darren playing The Last of Us 2 and giving his thoughts. This is kind of that. I mean, you're technically not playing, but I'm sure somehow you'll know the game better than me, and if I get stuck, you'll tell me what to do, just like you did in GoldenEye.
We discovered, I think, quite early on that Darren playing The Last of Us was a non-goer. I did give it a solid weekend of a go, and I was very proud of myself. And I think I messaged you, like the Monday. I was like, you'll be so proud of me. I made so much progress through the game. Here's exactly where I am. And you're like, yeah, that's a solid sixth of the way through the game. And I'm like, okay, this is not a runner.
Oh, this is deeply depressing. This is never going to end. You played the first one, right? You didn't play any of the second one?
I did. I played the first one. I got to the point where it's literally just like a shoot 'em in the barrel sequence with the zombies, where like you're in a factory. Yeah, like it's
that's
a classic
like 90%
of
of the first game to me is you're in a factory with barrels and you're
Yes.
you're trying to shoot them. But yeah, welcome everyone in YouTube, everyone in Twitch. So we're using this less to talk about the game and more of just set dressing so that we can talk about Season 2 of The Last of Us, which wrapped up last weekend. This will be a spoiler chat for Season 2 of The Last of Us. As a reminder, Darren has not played the game, so Darren doesn't know the back half of the story. Although I don't know if you've gleaned any of it through just being online.
I have a sneaking suspicion, given how the season ends. Like, where
it
the
seems like we
second
might
half
have a
might be
new
going.
main character of the second season. Yeah.
And we may be replaying the events that we've already played from a different perspective.
What could possibly go wrong? So I was talking with Darren before he went live. I think I'm going to pop into... I don't want to start at the very beginning because then the entire 2 hours will be in the prologue. So I think we'll do right before Joel meets... I think we could just say his untimely demise, and that way we can see how that scene, like sort of a meaty, dramatic scene, plays out, and then also we can then get to some of the open world Seattle stuff, and that's a little quieter and easier. We can hang out with our horse Shimmer. You know what the show did? Didn't have enough Shimmer the horse. They kind of just left Shimmer in like that music store and never went back for him.
I mean, they do make a point of reminding you that Shimmer exists in the finale. I do like that there's the test to see if Ellie is who she says he is. What's the name of your horse? Who you left in that record store in Seattle? I hope he's playing with B2 Emo.
Yeah. Listen, I am so... If the last shot of The Last of Us is just the horse on a farm somewhere, like having fun, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
And welcome, Fungus Finder with a $2 dono. Thank you so much. Is this the first Darren stream with only one other?
When I was
No,
12,
I think you and I doing GoldenEye was just the two of us. I think that was a weekend where people were away. Or that
I
was
think
a
Frost
weekend
was
people were
with
away.
us.
tried to get on it.
I think it was me, you, and Frost, and then I think me, you, and
Oh, that
Jack
was
did
right.
Zombies Ate My
From
Neighbors.
Yes.
Wait,
Good
how
call,
did you get the
actually.
scar?
Also,
Might
I feel like a
actually be.
pervert that I just selected a scene that starts like right post-sex scene between Ellie and Dina, but that wasn't my intention, folks.
Sure. That option on the menu is rather worn down.
It's crazy. It's a digital menu. I don't know why it's so worn down.
The chemical burn.
Oh, the tattoo is there as well?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So the tattoo is from the game. Like, out of curiosity, how faithful is the show to the game in terms of like things like that or things like shot composition and stuff
Small
like that?
things. Shot composition, extremely faithful, which I think we'll see some of during the...
covered
okay,
later.
people are saying double audio. How about
Right here.
this? Is there... I think it's on my end. Is this no
I got
more
jumped
double audio?
by
Is this
an
single
infected
audio
when I
chat?
was 14.
And I'm going to make noise just so people can hear in case it's my end.
Turns out I'm immune,
Yeah. Oh, sounds
so
better?
I
Okay.
healed.
And are
Sounds
you
better.
still
Okay,
able to hear
cool.
the game, Darren?
Fucked up teeth
I can, yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, I knew
Ow!
that.
Fuck
I
you.
fixed it. Yes, shot
Hey,
composition.
I told you a real
lot of it's
fucking
similar.
story.
Certain
I tell
events
you a
like
real
this,
fucking story. Oh, you wanna buy
like
more?
their kind of first hookup happens before the
you
Joel
hear that?
incident. This is like literally, I believe, the night
Jesse?
of the New Year's Eve party.
Just
That
stay
being
there,
said, that
okay?
New Year's
Are
Eve
you okay?
scene, you know, in
Just
the
wait,
sort of
please.
in the shed, is handled
Yes.
almost shot for
What are
shot
you
the
doing?
exact same.
With
The
Seth,
lighting, the
what was it,
composition.
the
Supposed to
steak
be on
sandwich
patrol.
guy.
Yes,
There's a
the
blizzard
bigot sandwich
outside.
guy.
Is that weed?
Why are you here?
This
People
is
are
they have
And yeah, that
found-
conversation with the
What we
bite
do
is from later in the
matters.
season as well.
Well, then why
Yeah,
don't you
yeah.
want
She
to
doesn't.
fucking look out?
Yeah, she
Oh, the
doesn't tell
game.
Dina
Tommy
until
and
later.
Joel
Lower
to
the
show
game
up.
chat. I could do that.
What do you mean?
Let me know how this is.
We waited for them for an hour. I was looking for their horses when I saw lights.
We're currently in below a
Maybe they just went back to
library
town.
is the Joe Penigliano
please,
character.
no way.
Had like a big old weed factory.
How much of their region have you covered?
Not much.
Then we split up.
And
at
is
it from
Jeffrey
different
Wright also
sides.
plays Isaac in the
We
game?
covered
I
the whole
believe I
thing in a
cleaned.
few
Is that
hours.
Yeah,
true?
so Jeffrey Wright
Exactly. What if they need help?
is the same. Yeah, is what's the
Okay,
word I'm
I'll head west. Dina can take
replays
south
his
and we'll
role,
come from the east,
resumes
but
his
be
role.
smart about it, yeah?
And then also in the first game, the actress who played Marlene was also the same.
Yes,
from
yes,
the
yes.
game.
The head of the Fireflies.
Yeah.
The head of the
Yeah.
Fireflies. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess overall, what did you think of season 2? Like, we were both fans of the first season, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think the thing with the second season is that it is half a season.
sure.
It is.
If
It
you're
is.
talking to
that's
Craig
Squid Game.
Mazin, it might be a third of a season.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah.
But it is. I think one of my big issues is the finale. The finale doesn't feel like a finale. The finale
Sure.
feels like an episode of the show. Ooh, that is very loud in my ear. The game is very loud.
Oh, the
I can-
game's
I can
very
turn
loud.
that
Okay,
down.
you can right-click it lower.
Yep, there we go. That makes sense. Perfect, Grant.
Game can still lower. Okay, chat. You know what? We're working through this together. We're
Figuring it out. Yeah, like a zombie apocalypse. But yeah, no, I like the second season a lot. I mean, again, I feel like it is a more ambitious season than the first season. I feel
Definitely.
like it's probably a more ambitious game than the first game was
Sure,
as well.
sure.
I
Yeah,
feel like
almost
there's
twice
some
as
learning
long.
curves.
Yeah.
And I do wonder, and again, this is maybe something to get into the conversation about, like adapting a video game into a screen medium or into like film and television. Like one of the big arguments that I've seen about the first game is that the first game is, to a certain extent, a movie on rails, and like it's very literally that in the bit that I played,
Yeah.
where you play as the daughter at the start of the game, and you are literally in a box. There's a sequence where you control the way she can look at a car,
Yeah.
and that is kind of, you are so on rails in that sense.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if, with the second game, from what I've kind of gleaned and what I intuit is, I suppose this is a spoiler space, right? I can intuit.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
guess.
This is a spoiler. Yeah. Spoilers for season 2 of The Last of Us.
The big swerve is that we are going to play as the Caitlin Diver character, right, Abby? That's the thing, isn't it? We swap perspective.
Correct,
during
almost the
game.
back half of the game. So the flow of the show is very similar to the flow of the game, where you have this opening in Jackson and then a 3-day structure of Seattle. And you play as Ellie in Seattle Day 1, Seattle Day 2, Seattle Day 3. And the exact moment the season ended with the confrontation at the theater is the kind of the halfway point in the game, and then you switch to Abby's perspective and play Seattle Day 1, Seattle Day 2, and Seattle Day 3.
And that's a surprise in the game that just happened there, right? You're not expecting.
No,
Joel to
because
get
even
shot,
in the
right?
marketing, they did some things where they showed scenes later on in the game, and they had Joel in the scenes. So it was somewhat deceptive marketing. Like they showed, I think, Joel in Seattle. And clearly Joel never gets to Seattle. But yeah, I honestly, like, I love the game. The game is very divisive, partly because, when someone's favorite character dies, people tend to get angry. Partly because there is just a strange hatred towards Abby as a character, even though it's like...
I mean, she did kill everybody's like favorite lead. Like,
Sure,
I think,
but that guy
not
also
to
killed her
justify
dad. That guy's like a psychopath.
But
Like-
the way the game is, and again, this is, as I understand it, based on the fact that this is a surprise. The way that was shot was a surprise. I'm guessing you don't know Abby's motivations right away at this moment. Does the game withhold Abby's motivations until later in the plot? Because the
Much
show opens
later than the show. Yeah, the show, literally, the first scene is like them over the graves in Utah and being like, we're going to go kill him, or we're going to kill him slowly.
These are our motivations. These are the stakes. And I do wonder, like, if, again, just as somebody who has not played the game, but somebody who, you asked if I kind of knew the switch that's coming in the game, I kind of garnered that something like the death of Joel happened just by, like, passively absorbing the discourse around
Sure,
it.
yeah,
Where there is this thing that happens when people have a reaction to a work of art where you can kind of, without them spoiling it or without being told what it is, you can kind of intuit what had happened because of the intensity of the reaction. The example I think of is the Game of Thrones final season thing where Daenerys burns down King's Landing.
Yeah.
And because I live in Ireland, I didn't see that until the following day.
Oh, yeah.
But as somebody who was online I could immediately tell, like, of the evening, exactly what had happened just based on the sheer vitriol of the reaction, which is, bad art exists. People don't like the Minecraft movie.
Yeah.
But people have an emotional reaction to something like that. And I kind of gathered from the reaction to The Last of Us Part 2 that it had done something at least equivalent to killing Joe.
Yeah, something, audacious. And sometimes audacious can work, and sometimes audacious can make you roll your eyes and question everything that came beforehand. In this case, I think, especially in the game, I think it works because it makes you... it sort of makes you complete by having you play as Joel in the first game, Ellie in the first half of this game, and then Abby in the second half of the game. The game is clearly about the cycle of violence and revenge, and who's gonna be the one to kind of break the wheel. And by having you play as all members of this cycle, you become complicit in that. Which I think is pretty effective, and it's something that is very singular to video games. By making you an active participant as opposed to a passive viewer. Now, you could say, there's that whole term ludonarrative dissonance, where you can kill 1 million guys in a level, and then during a cutscene, one death will matter. And you're kind of like, well, why did this? Why is this one death important compared to the other ones? Just crawl through here. What are you doing, Ellie? You can get through here. This is just a human-sized hole.
But yeah, I mean, that is kind of, and again, having only played a little bit of the first game, or having played 1/6 statistically of the first game, that is something that's woven into the fabric of it, where you start playing as Joel's daughter, which memes that her death catches you, or at least caught me, off guard, having played.
Oh, yeah, and I think that's really, playing as Sarah, I think, is really, really effective in that opening as well.
And I mean, this is the question I have about Season 2, though, right? Is that obviously in the game, it is a very different experience to have witnessed Abby killing Joel, the character who you played as for most of the first game, and then having to play as her. And I'm guessing playing as her coming as a surprise, at least based on the reaction.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't part of the marketing, it wasn't advertised, it wasn't sold.
No, and it very much seems like that theater scene culminates in what a lot of people thought, because it's probably 10, 12 hours into the game, just assuming, we're leading up to the end of the game, or the final act of the game, and then for it to be like, no, you are halfway through, and you will now experience what this person, the antagonist of the story, becomes the protagonist.
Just like, can you replicate that in film and television? And I think I kind of wonder if it's something that is unique to video games. And I worry that I'm asking you more questions than you're asking me about my experience watching the show. But I think it is interesting to wonder about comparing watching the show to playing the game.
Sure.
The show front loads a lot of that, where it's the idea at the end of the season that we're probably going to spend at least half of the third season, maybe all the third season if we're doing 2 more seasons of the game, in Abby's perspective, doesn't feel like that much of a surprise, because the show spends so much time signposting that Abby has good reasons for doing what she's doing, and explaining why she's doing what she's doing, and humanizing, and in a way that this, obviously the structure of a video game where you're playing as Ellie can't, cutting away to scenes of Isaac, scenes of Abby. Is there, does it feel like the show softens? Ooh. Does it feel like the show softens?
You say the word softens the moment he's getting his ass bashed in with it. I will say, yes, in the game, by the time we get to the point where the season has ended, Ellie is kind of a psychopath, which you get a little bit of, her torturing Nora in that basement with the golf, or with the pipe or whatever. But you have killed, ruthlessly killed so many more people in the game with knives and assault rifles. You've killed their dogs, and you've heard them scream the names of the dogs in anguish. You've killed, there are more scenes where she is slowly killing each and every member of Abby's crew, who you then, on the flip side, which I don't think is a spoiler for the next season, you're gonna learn more about them. The people the Abby's crew who are dead by the, Nora and the 2 who died in the finale, you're going to learn more about them and recontextualize, be like, oh man, when Abby kills these people, that's brutal because you know who they are and they aren't bad people, just by doing this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, that's the central point. But as somebody who loves the game, is that a purity of experience within the game that you can't replicate in the show? Like, is the game more impactful than the show? I say there's somebody who really enjoys the show, but I'm like imagining what it would be like to experience this and then have the rug pull of these people you have thought of as like villains in the same way that like Fedra are treated as villains throughout the show.
Yeah.
You know, is it impossible to do that on TV? And is that a limitation of the show inherently?
I think so, and I hate to be like, I am not someone who thinks adaptations need to be 100% faithful, because I think that's kind of boring. I think you have the original source material. Why do you want to see a one-to-one adaptation? Like, we talked about the Gus Van Sant Psycho remake. Like, that is an interesting experiment, but that's kind of it. I don't want to see that become a norm. And so I hate being like, oh, you need to take
Stitches in cinemas this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't think that needs to be the case with the game, but it just does feel like it feels like a slightly watered down version of the story in the game, or the way the story is told. And I don't think that's the fault of any. I think the casting by and large is great. Like, I do think, there's a lot of talk, like
Deaver's incredible. Like
Caitlin Deaver's
like
great.
landing Deaver's, yeah.
Yeah, and there's talk about how Bella Ramsey looks like they looked the age of Ellie in the first game, like when Ellie was 14 or 15 or whatever. And Bella just looks young. Like, Bella is the age of Ellie in this game, but doesn't, still kind of looks, has like a baby face a little bit. That I got over very quickly because I think Bella's performance is great. Like, I think they juggle like the sort of soft moments you have with Dina, like the silly moments you have with Dina, with they seem like a psychopath when they get angry.
I think actually to praise like Bella's performance, I think like the fact that they look young is I think something that scripts account for, where like the way that Ellie is presented is that even though Ellie is at this stage 5 years older than she was in the previous season, is it 5-year gap?
I believe it's a 5-year
gap.
jump. Yeah.
But like the way that she behaves is still kind of a teenager who hasn't entirely grown up, where she will ask silly questions, or even in the finale where like she accidentally lets slip that Dina's pregnant because she doesn't have the social wherewithal to figure out that Jesse's probing. Like, I think that the way that Bella plays her and the way that she is written, I think, is very consciously tailored to the fact that Bella Ramsey does look very young even now, even though, as you said, she's at the age that they're at the age that they are now.
Yeah. And I think that by and large, I think that works pretty well. I know there is like, I think a lot of folks, there is sort of like a Pedro Pascal sized hole missing from the back half of the second season. Like, it is hard. Like that his performance and his presence kind of has a gravity to it that you can feel is no longer there. But I think that's a feature and not a bug. Like, I think that absence, and there's some small changes the show made where I like in the game, it doesn't seem like him and Joel and Dina really had a relationship at all. Whereas in the show, they had that like small scene, I think in the first episode, where like he seems almost like a older brother, father figure, surrogate father to her as well. Yeah, with the circuits and everything. And even that, that's a, we were talking about Andor on Tuesday. That's like a nice metaphor for the entire season, of the, this thing is very easily.
If you don't stop it, it will explode and burn the entire house down. Yeah, no, I know. Like, again, one of the things that I do really like about The Last of Us as a show, and I don't know whether, I assume it's true of the game as well, is that it has a very lyrical kind of poetic quality to it where, and again, maybe this will change in the third season. Maybe like this will change when we spend time with Abby. But like, the show, and I presume the game as well, take a lot of the assumptions of what we know about like post-apocalyptic fiction, and just like that allows it to focus on the relationship, the dynamic. So I don't know the inner politics of Fedra or the inner politics of the Fireflies or of the WLF, the Wolves and the Seraphins or whatever, but like I can intuit from context and from having watched enough post-apocalyptic narratives that the Seraphins are like a anarcho-agrarian culture, and the Wolves are what happens when fascists kind of start splitting and fragmenting and breaking up into smaller groups. So I like that the show doesn't spend its time focusing on that,
One
but
day.
instead gives you the central dynamics. Instead focuses
Please.
on the relationship between Joel and Ellie. And like I think that's the difference between the first and second seasons. Is the first season is a very linear journey where there is a clear destination. They are going to the hospital.
Yeah,
and then obviously
yeah.
in the finale, when they get to the hospital, things happen. But there's like a clear arc that a character has to accomplish. And I think that the second season, because of how it's structured, where Joel dies at the end of the second episode, and the sixth episode or the penultimate episode of the season, to your point about the absence of Joel, is like structured around we brought Joel back, which is like it's a gut punch. It works incredibly well. It reminds you how much Pedro Pascal is essential to the story, but it does mean that like effectively only half of the season has a clear linear we're going to Seattle, we're going to kill Abby structure.
Yeah.
So there is less room for the kind of the magic ambling kind of connection that you would have in the first season, where like Joel and Ellie would just kind of bond over 9 episodes going from literally A to B, whereas here it feels like you get 3 episodes of Ellie and Dina going to Seattle. But yeah, it's a more complex structure.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe something that I do kind of butt against, where it's like I enjoyed a lot. I suspect I will enjoy the whole object a lot more than I enjoyed the second season, if that makes sense structurally.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing, is in the game, the perspective shift halfway through is something you can experience immediately. Like I played through this game, in like a weekend. I probably played like 9 hours a day for 3 days.
Okay.
Whereas 2027 probably season 3. Right? Like it's not like they didn't film these. They didn't film these back to back.
Almost stopped at his house before.
And there's assuming they do everything they did, like it feels like season 2 is going to have season 3 will have even more CG heavy set pieces. Like
means more
Abby's 3 days,
which means longer.
Really go some places, so that could be a more complicated season. I think extending it to 4 seasons would be silly because Abby's 3 days in Seattle, would take. I also think this season felt very short. A 7-episode season felt like it went by. I think there could have been an extra episode or 2 of more Seattle stuff.
It's 7 episodes with a 2-episode prologue and penultimate episode flashback.
Yeah,
so it is only
exactly.
4 episodes, which is insane.
And it didn't give any time. One thing I was bummed out is we didn't have the equivalent of the Nick Offerman Murray Bartlett episode from season 1, which I thought was not only a highlight of that season, but just of TV of the last couple of years. That's one of my favorite episodes, and that was something that was not in the game. Like the Nick Offerman's character is in the game, and
it's notes, right?
It's kind of a note you can find out about his relationship and everything. But expanding that, I thought was a great move. And this did a little bit
it's
of
something
that,
you could only do on TV. To get to the
yeah.
strengths of different media, it's something you can't do in the game. I do love the idea of playing like press X to express like empathy to your partner. But it is something that you can only do in TV, is to have a perspective shift for an episode.
Yeah.
Whereas it's not something you can maybe do in a video game like that. I kind of. So what would you think? Like Catherine O'Hara and Joe Pantoliano for an episode? Is that?
The Catherine O'Hara character is she was not in the game, so that does feel like the closest thing. Yeah, maybe that would have been like that. We get the instead of them just stumbling upon him and having. I thought his cameo was really good. I liked that scene with Joel, and especially how that is kind of the fissure between. The lie he tells Ellie is kind of the thing that the straw that broke the camel's back. Maybe an entire episode going through their relationship. Yeah. Although, I don't know, maybe they thought that'd be too samey. Maybe they don't want it to be like, oh, here comes the obligatory one-off romance episode.
Let's get Joe Pantoliano an Emmy, baby.
Yeah.
His guest spot on Chucky didn't do it, but this will pull it off.
Was he on the Chucky show?
He played himself on the Chucky show. It's incredible. It's honestly, even if you only watch one episode of Chucky, is it Death and Denial, I think is what it's called. But it's the Jennifer Tilly has a party with her sister Meg Tilly, Gina Gershon, Joe Pantoliano, all playing themselves. And it becomes a murder mystery party with Chucky. It's great.
That's like the cast of Bound?
Bound, yes, that is the joke.
It's a Bound reunion?
It's a Bound reunion. Yeah. Isn't that the line from, is it Bride of Chucky, where like she's like tied up Jennifer Tilly, and she's screaming in the background, and she's like just on the phone going, "Oh, I'm just watching Bound. Jennifer Tilly's getting fingered." Yeah,
yeah, just standard. Don't worry about it. Yeah, nothing crazy.
Don't ask any questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, look, I really enjoyed the second season, but it does, again, it's that thing of the compression that feels weirdly kind of streaming centric and modern prestige show centric, where it used to be that it would be an entire season was a story, and it kind of feels like we've reached a point where, due to the like production constraints of modern television, and like to be fair, as you point out, a lot of this, there's a lot of CGI here. It's an incredibly complicated production. It's a very busy cast. I mean, even Pedro Pascal finding time to shoot 3 episodes is a big ask when he's also doing Mandalorian and Grogu and Fantastic Four and all that sort of stuff. Like, I understand why it happens, but it does feel like it used to be that, you know, an episode was a story, then a season was a story, and now it feels like maybe we've gone a bit too far where a season is half a story or a third of a story, depending on where you ask.
Yeah.
And it does feel a little bit diffuse, you know?
And just the length, like, you know, between stuff like The Last of Us or House of the Dragon or Andor or Severance, like the 3-year gap between seasons is a big ask. Like, you kind of need to do a rewatch in order to fully understand. And like, granted, a lot of those shows are great and I enjoy doing my rewatches, but there's also something nice and refreshing about the news that The Pits is being treated like a normal classic television series that will come back every year.
But see, Marty, that's the appeal of like having a short season, is that it doesn't feel like homework to rewatch it.
Yeah, I guess that's...
If we're doing swings and roundabouts, it's like, I will watch these 7 episodes before I jump into the 3rd season, to be fair.
Yeah.
And it won't feel like that much of an ask of like having to watch 12 of them or 14 of them or however many.
No, and it did, like, rewatching Andor before Andor Season 2, I think I even remarked to you, I was like, oh, I forgot how good this was. Like, I knew how good it was in the time, but it kind of leaked out of my brain. And then rewatching it, I was like, oh, this is actually like probably the best show on TV. This is phenomenal.
Just come on down.
Yeah. And again, same thing happened with Severance, where it's like, I love Severance, and I was like, as you said, it's been 3 years between seasons. I need to refresh my memory. And as soon as I sit down and watch the first episode, I'm like, this is not homework.
Oh yeah, you'll know this is actually great to rewatch this.
Yeah, like I'm gonna have to do that for Foundation, because the 3rd season Foundation's coming out, and I'm dreading that. But I'm like, when I was sitting down to watch The Last of Us, sitting down to watch Severance, sitting down to watch Andor, it's like, nope, this is a manageable size of television season that is actually quite good.
Yeah, and it's deep enough to where you get something new from it with fresh eyes. Or from watching it all, like, you know, as much as I am a fan of week to week, watching it all compressed, you can kind of, you can see some of the inner workings of the season structure a little bit better.
And having the advantage of having seen the finale as well, and to put it all in context.
And being able to see how things in the first episode echo in the final.
You should have given us a group to go after those fuckers.
Couple super chats came in. Snake in the Garden, thank you so much for a €2 donor. Popping to Lidl for groceries. Want anything? Do you know Lidl? Is Lidl Lidl? Is that an Irish chain?
Yep. It's a German chain, but they're in Ireland. They're a really cool supermarket. Fritz Strips. If I could recommend one thing from Lidl, it'll be Fritz Strips. So it's FRITT, and they do they're basically high vitamin C, pure sugar sweets. They're little kind of like chewy. They're great, and they come in like they do cherry, they do orange, they do lemon, are my personal favorite. They used to do cola, they discontinued cola, but yeah, you can get these kind of little flavored sweets that are probably for children, but I enjoy them. What can I say?
And you can trick yourself to be like, they're high vitamin C, they're good for me.
Yeah,
just don't limit the sugar content.
That's it. It's like half my RDA of vitamin C, 5 times my RDA of sugar. It's perfect. Right? That balances out. It averages out to about okay. So yeah, pick up some Fritz Strips. Or don't listen to your doctor. But
Dr. Darren, listen, you've watched The Pit. You're an honorary doctor. It's fine.
All right.
Gardargus, thank you so much for the bits over on Twitch. And John Blee, thank you for the bit border. Hear me out. Caitlin Deaver, she has the acting chops to be the next Meryl. Not as good as B2 Emo, but then again, who is? Few of us are.
B2 Emo, I hear, is going back to theater after his role in Andor. I feel like it's kind of the Daniel Day-Lewis situation. He's kind of like he's done it all. He doesn't feel like his next work's up to scratch. Yeah. I feel like if Spielberg were to offer B2 Emo a role, maybe that would pull B2 Emo out of retirement. But yeah, I think Deaver's incredible. Like, and I do feel a little bit like casting Deaver as Abby kind of gives the game away.
Yeah,
where it's like there is no way that you cast somebody of Deaver's stature, if you are going to just turn them into a two-dimensional villain, or if you're not going to do something with them later on. But yeah, she's incredible. She's one of the best actors of her generation.
And she was as a child, like when she popped up in Justified and Short Term 12, which
Last Man Standing. Don't forget Last Man Standing.
Couldn't forget Last Man Standing. Short Term 12. Have you ever seen that? That was Daniel Dustin Cretton.
But yeah, that's the one that launched. Like it was obviously Brie Larson. Was it Rami
Malek?
Who else was in there?
I believe Lakeith Stanfield. Rosa from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like, it is a wild cast of like getting them like right at the start. Like if you bought stock in all those actors right for seeing that movie, like sky high.
Yeah, you'd be in a position to turn down directing the next Avengers movie.
Exactly. Shang-Chi 2 coming. It's coming at some point. Don't worry.
But like I love that he turned it down to do Spider-Man. It's like you turned it down because you're gonna make Shang-Chi 2. It's like no, Spider-Man 4. That's the dream.
I know there's less pressure. Like Spider-Man, it'll probably be fine. Like whatever. But whereas like the Avengers, like that's got too much baggage on it.
Maybe these
Oh yeah, can you imagine the notes that you'll get on it? Like the sense I get is that like it's probably easier to deal with Sony than it is to deal with Disney.
Yeah.
Because it's still Amy Pascal, and even though she's no longer the head of Sony, she's the producer on those movies.
Yeah. Oh, I watched the studio. I know how that works.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Have you listened to any of sorry to talk about the studio while we're talking about the
This is a TV
Last of
podcast.
Us,
It's fine. Or a TV stream. I don't even know what this is. It's fine. Talk about whatever we want.
It's a cross-media experience.
Listen, Catherine O'Hara is in both shows. It's fine.
Yes. And she plays Amy Pascal in the studio. And I love that, like, Seth Rogen's like, yeah, that's just Amy Pascal.
Really?
Do also love that when he's being interviewed promoting the studio, he still giggles like Kermit the Frog. And apparently, when himself and Evan Goldberg were in Sony, they smoked so much weed in their office that Will Smith had them kicked out because Will Smith was in the office above them. Yeah, he was like, the Will Smith's people kept complaining about the smell. So they went out to the bunker that used to be like Louis B. Mayer's office and then was like the school where they would like teach the Little Rascals. You know, when the Little Rascals were filming movies, they'd have to go to class.
Sure.
So the schoolhouse is what they used to call it. And that ended up being Pascal's office after she left or departed. Which is kind of fun.
Incredible. I love that.
Turns out you do know where you're
Apparently she did ventilate. She properly ventilated the space after.
Yeah, I was about to say you'd drop something heavy on the ground and then get a secondhand high from like everything falling up from the carpets.
Sorry, we were talking about Deaver. Deaver's phenomenal. I mean, you've seen No One Will Save You, right? The Disney Plus or the Hulu movie.
Yeah, that's I adored that movie. That is mostly a one-hander with her and almost no
entirely silent.
Yeah, because she's by herself during an alien invasion, and unless you're gonna talk to yourself and give like MCU quips to yourself, then it's probably gonna be a quiet movie.
Yeah, and just in general, when she pops up and stuff, it's always good to see her. And like, she works fairly consistently. She seems like, which is, for someone her age, you're like, maybe you should be enjoying the fruits of your youth instead of making another 12-episode Netflix show.
Yeah.
But I'm just happy to have the 12-episode Netflix show.
Yeah, exactly. Snake in the Garden with another €2. Thank you. €2. Thank you so much. Darren deserves a Katamari stream after this story. Katamari is my game that I stream whenever I'm sad, because it is just like an endorphin rush. It is like a very strange Japanese game, like a very colorful, cartoony Japanese game where you play as the son of the king of the cosmos. And you have a little ball, and you just roll up objects into the ball, and the ball slowly gets bigger. So you start up like rolling paper clips, and by the end of a level, you are rolling up countries and continents because your ball just progressively gets bigger and bigger. It's delightful.
Sounds kind of terrifying if you're.
It is
on
a little
country or
terrifying
continent.
in that you can, when you roll up people, you can kind of hear them scream. But it's very cartoony. So it's one of those things where if they ever turned it into live action, it would be like the most horrifying thing. It would be like that scene from Nope when you go inside of the alien and you see all the people like screaming inside the bladder of the flying alien. It'd be like that.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Yeah,
As somebody who only got like 1/6 the way through the first game,
Yeah.
is the horse riding a new dynamic for The Last of Us 2? Or is it in the first one?
I want to say you got a horse in the first game for a little bit. The horse plays a bigger role in this one because there's more like this.
The maps are bigger, I'm guessing, is it?
Yeah, and when you first get to Seattle, like there's a little puzzle here,
Set the QZ.
but then when you
Yeah.
get to downtown Seattle, there's very
Watch
much
the
kind of an
hotspots.
open-ended. Okay, you know what you have to do, and you can go do it, or you can spend 5 hours probably doing a bunch of random stuff, like little side quests, and there's little side stories you'll find, and doing them gets you collectibles or super shotguns, gamey shit like that. But
Yeah.
it's more open ended than anything in the first game was.
That's what I was gonna ask, because like the first game I found to be very on the rails, pardon the pun, but like very much kind of you're guided. Again, it's good level design. Like
Yeah.
it's good as somebody who doesn't play games normally or doesn't play as much as you should. Like the idea of like how well structured a level is that it just guides you to its conclusion without you realizing that it's doing it.
Yeah.
That's just good design. But it was more linear than I had expected it to be based on what I'd heard of it.
Yeah, and especially that developer Naughty Dog is who they before
Anything
this
good
they
in there?
did the
Pretty picked
Uncharted
over.
games, which was just it very much was a playable movie. Like those games have no open sections. Like that is
Nathan
very much-
Drake, right?
Nathan Drake,
Mark Wahlberg.
Mark
Or
Wahlberg, and
Tom
Tom
Holland.
Holland. Yeah,
Tom Holland. There we go.
yeah. That was a very bad. You know what? At least that movie was better than Fountain of Youth.
It was. None of them are romancing the stone. Like what
No.
you really want from an Indiana Jones imitation is like romancing the stone.
Or even-
hell, I'd even settle for like a King Solomon's Mines.
I would say.
Sorry.
Did you ever see Sahara?
Yes,
even that was
the Matthew
better.
McConaughey.
Yeah, it's Steve Zahn.
Is that Matthew McConaughey and Penelope Cruz?
up
I
here.
think
Or
so.
is that?
And Steve Zahn is like the buddy.
Yeah. Man, it's weird. Like when Penelope Cruz went to Hollywood for like 5 years, it was like I'm not my vibe. But she was like, because Vanilla Sky was on the other night. But like where Hollywood was like, we have this incredibly talented, very beautiful,
I'll keep an eye
gifted
out.
Spanish actor.
See if you can get the gate
What
open
crap
from the
can we
inside.
put her in?
Yeah.
And
Sounds
it does
good.
seem like after a while, she just is like, you know what? I'm going back to the indies. I'm going back to like Spanish language cinema. I'm going back to like an industry that respects me.
Yep.
I am not going to be like the.
I'm not going to date
the
Tom
person-
Cruise any longer. Like,
And then she shows up in Zoolander too.
that's right. I was also worried about saying Tom. Shit! That didn't happen in the show. First off, that was Ellie's fault. I jumped. She should have grabbed. I didn't have to hit a button. That's on Ellie. That's not on me.
Can I just? This is Darren's minor complaint
Sure.
corner about like playing The Last of Us Part 1. I did get a good knife. Like one of my big problems with it is the whole like you have to fashion supplies together and supplies only work for so long.
Oh yeah.
So it's like you can only get like 4 or 5 stabs with a knife, and
Yeah.
it's like, you know what? Just you live in a post-apocalyptic economy. You can probably buy a good knife, Joel.
Yeah. Someone probably can make a really good knife. There's probably like someone had to have picked up blacksmithing over the past 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, you have a shotgun.
Yeah.
You can get me a knife that won't snap after I use it 3 times. Sorry, this has been Darren's minor complaint corner about The Last of Us Part 1.
Yeah, that is video game shit right there. That is just
Yeah.
like roll your eyes. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, no, I know it's a game mechanic.
Yeah.
It just is something that kind of, as somebody who is like naturally wary about like using items of which I have a limited supply, I'm a hoarder by nature.
Oh, that
It
is
is something that annoys me about video games where it's like I have 12 bullets and I need to decide if I'm going to use them now or if I'm going to try and survive this and hopefully use them later when I need them, you know?
No, that is like a recurring goof of getting to the end of a game and rolling credits and still having the 100 things
Yeah.
you saved, being like, I'll use this by the end of the game. And it's like, why did I not use these 50 grenades I had in my pocket?
They would have made it so much
Yeah.
easier. And this brick. Oh, there we go. It's a useful brick. It's good that they brought the brick back. I appreciate it. That brick doesn't get a lot of work.
Everyone's favorite
these
main
days.
character, the brick.
Yeah. Joel's brick.
Yeah. Dower Dodger with a $5 dono. Thank you so much, Dower Dodger. I'm going to need one of these codes.
Coordinates, are they? Or the
0512.
codes? Okay.
Yeah, I think 0512 is the one I'm going to need. Put away. flip, put away, do something. Darren Dodger, thanks so much. Thoughts on how they handled Bill and Frank in the show? I thought it was nice creative liberty and ultimately was well done, touching aside. I think this might have been earlier. I'm a little bit behind on Super Chat, sorry. I thought as we mentioned before, I thought it was great. I mean, Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett. I only know Murray Bartlett from White Lotus season 1 and he's incredible in both. I don't know what else he's in. Like, I don't know where he came from. Like, maybe he has like a huge resume I don't know about, but he's delightful in both.
That's a general.
I mean, that was because and again, to the credit of the production team working on this, they give the full season ahead of time. So I saw the first season of The Last of Us before any of it aired, and I will say that episode was the point at which I kind of fell in love with the show.
Sure.
Where I was like, it's the first two are well made, and they're very clear in what they're doing, and the misdirect with Sarah is very good as well.
Yeah.
But the sequence, that episode is the point at which this is something special.
And it feels like it separates it from, being
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead or whatever.
Yeah, that's it.
I remember this being a thing when this game
Why
came
are you
out.
throwing it back and forth?
In 2020, when this game came out, I spent probably a half an hour being amazed by the rope physics. This is really dumb.
Okay.
This is probably the best rope physics in any game ever. It is wild how good this rope is. And I've seen developers be like, we need to know what magic they did for this cord to work this way, because cords in games just don't work this way. So yeah, shout out to the rope.
Is it the stretch how far it can stretch and stuff? Is it? Ooh.
It's the stretch, and it's also, but yeah, part of the puzzle is you needing to throw it over things and it having slack, and it just for some reason ropes in games usually have very wonky physics, but in this game, again, Naughty Dog is in terms of budget, they're probably second only to Rockstar, who make the Grand Theft Auto games, who have literally, they've said, I think they think Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to have a $2 billion budget, which seems excessive until you realize that the Grand Theft Auto 5 sold 210 million copies. So you're like, all right, you could probably take that much time.
It's the biggest media event of the year, and I say it as somebody who's like a film and television critic. I'm willing to acknowledge, I'm willing to acknowledge the big dog on campus.
It's
this year is GTA 6, right?
It got delayed till I believe it's coming out the weekend of The Mandalorian and Grogu next year. So
it's out next year. So,
yeah. Everyone thought it was going to come out this year, and then just like 2 weeks ago, they delayed it to I think March 20 something or May 20 something.
Well, that's bad. That is actually legitimately bad news for The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Listen, it's Disney. Don't delay it. It's fine. They don't know what's going on.
Will they delay it? Do you think, or is there so much ego tied up in the first Star Wars film to come out?
Can you have ego being the first Star Wars movie since Rise of Skywalker? Like, are you allowed to have ego?
No, he's a Marvel character.
Oh, goddamn, the Living Planet!
Yeah. Kurt Russell, ladies and gentlemen.
Is he a dude in the comics, or is he just a big planet in the comics?
No, he's a big planet in the comics, and he does have a love life. To be fair, he's literally just a big planet with a face on him. He's a big purple ball, and every once in a while, somebody will have to go inside him and I don't know, clean out his earwax or whatever. There's always something got stuck inside Ego the Living Planet. Don't ask how.
Ego, stop putting stuff in your ear.
Or other orifices. But there's always Reed Richards of Earth. You must come to Ego the Living Planet and free me from this thing that is lodged inside me. And I do feel like it's just polite that nobody's ever so what were you doing when this happened? The pit style. Shimmer. Okay.
That was Shimmer the horse. Shimmer almost died, but no, Shimmer's gonna be fine. I think they have to set up reasons for why you can't go back and be at some point nah, fuck this place, let's just leave Seattle. Well, the door closed, so you got to keep going forward.
But that is again standard video game logic. I would much rather go back to the place where it's safe and where I know everything is kind of accounted for. All right.
Yeah, I think we're very close.
So this is Seattle, is it?
Yeah, and I think we're very close to getting to that open world
element of it.
Yeah.
Again, what I played of the first game, very impressed with it technically. It is gorgeous.
Yeah, this game. So it originally released right at the end of the PlayStation 4 generation, and then a few years ago they released. This is on PlayStation 5, kind of a juiced up version.
Gets right to
But
the
yeah,
point.
like Naughty Dog is,
Get closer
you
and
know, world
Okay.
class in terms
Here we go.
of just everything. In terms of art direction, in terms of motion capture, you know. Their next game
out of
they
gas.
announced is it is
damn
a
it. Well, what do we
kind of
do now?
inspired, they said, by Cowboy
Oh, shit.
Bebop. It's like an
Note.
80s tinged
The note mentioned that
sci-fi.
there's gas in the
Like you seemingly
courthouse
play as kind of like a
garage
bounty hunter,
and
but
the dome.
all the
Alright.
all the technology in it
Courthouse
is very
garage
much
and the
like
dome.
pulled from the 80s
So
as
what's
a
the
space
plan for
bounty
finding
hunter.
these places?
And it's
We'll
starring
ride around
the
and
actress,
see
the
what
main
we
character is
see.
the actress who
think
played
Tommy came
Nora
through
on
here?
the show.
He did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, like, so what, like, aside from The Last of Us, not that one imagines a company that makes The Last of Us needs to do more than The Last of Us, but what else have Naughty Dog done?
So they started off, you would probably, Crash Bandicoot.
Oh,
So that was
wow.
like their first, like that was
Okay.
their first big thing. And so Crash Bandicoot, like during the PlayStation 1 generation, and then
So
Jack and Daxter,
really?
which was again kind of like a cartoony
Yes.
platform game.
Two-hander platformer.
Yeah. And that was during the PS2 generation, and then the PS3 generation was mostly Uncharted games, culminating in The Last of Us, and now because
Pretty sure
development takes so goddamn long on
here.
these things,
Ah,
like they
nice.
haven't done
We'll
a
mark it
new
up as we
game
go.
since 2020, since The Last of Us Part 2. They've like remastered The Last of Us and remastered some Uncharted games, but yeah, it's kind of a bummer
What the hell
to
happened
see
out
that, like, if you go back to
I'm
those Jack
guessing
and
the
Daxter
military
games, like
bombed
they
the shit out of
released,
this place.
or even so on the
Why would they
PlayStation
do
3,
that?
they released 3
Maybe
Uncharted
supposed to
games
destroy
and The
parts
Last of
city
Us.
that were lost to the
Whereas
infected.
now on the PlayStation
Or
5,
the
they'll
rebels.
probably just release
seems like
that
overkill.
new sci-fi game
Well,
as a new game. Like,
it usually
development times
works.
have gone from,
On the
a year,
infected
2
or the
years, 3
rebels.
years to
Oof.
6, 7 years, which
Believe me.
we talk
Well,
about
as
that
you
a lot
mentioned-
of stuff. That
Bravo
seems
cheesy.
untenable. It seems
starting
like
to get that
something's
impression.
got to give at some point.
Again,
And
it's an industry problem in general. We talked about like the show going from like a story being an episode to
Yeah.
a season to being 6 years to tell a story.
Yeah,
Um,
and we cover
Especially
every
taking
week.
over
It seems
from
like
me.
there's a studio closure or
Yeah.
game cancellation. There was
Oh,
a
the Black
high-profile
Panther
game-
there during the
I was
week, right?
expecting
The Black
Seattle
Panther game.
QZ
Yeah.
to be a lot more
And that was a studio, a
Yeah.
new studio, so they have not
Maybe
released a
they're all
game, and
hiding
they
at
won't
the
because the
syrup
studio
now.
got closed. But they
How many
previously
WLF
did
you
their.
figure
There was a
out
couple
how
Lord of
many?
the Rings games that people really liked called
least
Shadow
3.
of War and Shadow of
If
Mordor,
we're lucky, that'll be it.
which were great,
Yeah.
fun,
Fine.
kind of open world.
Real-time strategies are they? Oh no.
No,
okay.
no, no. They were
Holy
like
cow.
almost like an Assassin's Creed game, like a big open world.
Ah.
Their whole thing was they developed
Hey,
a system to
I think
where
it's on the courthouse.
you would.
How can you tell?
What
it's
were
called-
those in the distance
I
there?
think
Were
they were
those
Building that says-
deer?
buffalo or no? Deer.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. We're gonna follow them. We're gonna hunt them just
Okay.
for you.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh, thank you.
but-
Kill one of their father so that in like 5 years,
That's
you'll just be
psycho
wondering.
violence. Ellie's home alone. It's just a flash of lightning, and there's a deer at the window. Yeah. Sovereign with a €20 dono. Thank you so much, Sovereign. One thing I think the show does better is the infected,
Someone's
introducing
getting
concepts
sick.
like airborne spores, bloaters, stalkers,
tell?
etc.,
She
further
sounds
into
a
the
little
story to show
hoarse.
how the infection is evolving over time, plus the more blatant hive
Come
mind.
on, that was a
I
good
agree.
one.
Even though it did seem like in the second season the zombies almost took a back seat, right? Like it just felt like there wasn't as much zombie in this season as the first season, which is also kind of the game. Like the game that has
They do also front load like the zombies with the again, and it's a really nice visual metaphor. You talk again the way I presume the game, but the way the show does its storytelling, where the zombies are a metaphor, like most zombies are.
Oh, yeah.
But where like they're this thing underground, where they're in the pipes, but they're also in the snow, frozen.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
they kind of awaken and they burst, much like the circuit breaks, much like Abby kind
Yeah.
of like slouches towards Bethlehem. Again, just using the infect as a metaphor. And you mentioned that idea of like the infected evolving. I do think the no mask or spores thing is very obviously we have Pedro Pascal, we have Bella Ramsey.
Sure.
We are not putting them in
Yeah.
masks. Pedro Pascal is not wearing another mask on another TV show. But I do like that in the second season you have, and I don't spoil it for me or whatever, but you have this kind of hint of are these things evolving and becoming smarter? Which is again one of my favorite zombie tropes.
Oh,
Going
yeah.
back to, I know it's a vampire novel, but obviously I Am Legend by
Yeah.
Bradbury. I don't think it's Bradbury.
I think
It's the other
isn't it
guy.
Richard Matheson.
It
I
mi-
think.
Richard Matheson, apologies, yes. But like you have that, and you have also like in the Dead movies by Ramiro, you have like Bud the Zombie and stuff like that. Like, I like the idea
I
that
hear it.
the infected might be their own thing that human beings don't understand to fit into that cycle of violence
At
thing.
least we're ready
Yeah,
for
Where
it.
it's like, much like Ellie doesn't understand Abby, we don't understand them.
Yeah,
So are
yeah.
they becoming smarter? Are they becoming self-aware? Are they becoming
Yeah.
a life form in their own right?
Yeah,
This is
and that
interesting.
makes the act of like before you can kill them and be like, well, they don't know what's going on. They're not even sentient, and then you're like, oh shit.
It's a mercy
is there, like,
killing, yeah.
Is there humanity in them?
Yeah. If they're smart enough to hunt you, presumably they have some awareness of what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
But and again, I love that it's not too labored, much like the WLF stuff, much like the Seraphim stuff. Like it's stuff that could be very expositional, very heavy-handed, very like we're going to sit you down and we're going to explain the mechanics of what's happening. But instead, I think there's maybe 2 encounters with an infected like that over the course of the season. There's the one in the first episode where
In, like, the
Ellie
grocery
gets
store.
bitten.
Yeah.
In the grocery store, and then there's another one with Dina when they're sneaking through the area that's meant to be that's lightly patrolled in Seattle. But like the
There's
show
like,
doesn't
when like
hammer
Jesse
it.
pops up, right? Like Jesse saves them.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I worry I'm distracting you when you're doing
No,
this.
that's what we were supposed to do. Also, I put the game
know.
on very easy, so if I die, I should be ashamed of myself.
All right.
That's
You
it.
say that, but I had it on very easy, and I died quite frequently.
Oh no, I die all the time. We'll see. Stealth kill.
Stealth kill.
We don't need no badges. Thank you so much for a $10 dono. Just wanted to represent those of us who really enjoyed the game thoroughly despite internet discourse. Thanks in advance for keeping me company while I listened to the VOD later during my 3-hour dentist appointment. Oh my god, that sounds like hell.
Jesus, like pulling teeth.
Ah!
Sorry. But yeah, no, like I mean, to be honest, I am just a casual observer of these things, but I assume that this is one of those outrages that is similar to something like The Last Jedi, where there's an extremely vocal bunch of people online who really, really, really profoundly dislike it, and to a certain extent make disliking it a core part of like
Sure,
every
their
conversation they
personality,
have.
Yeah.
Yeah. But on the other hand, it is a movie that made $1.3 billion as the
Yeah,
highest grossing
yeah.
movie of its year, got an A cinema score and some of the best reviews in the franchise history. And I'm like, surely this was a massive success, got great reviews, and we're still playing and talking about it, and it spawned a TV show.
Yeah. No, it is to well, first off, it is totally fine to not like The Last of Us 2,
Yep,
to not like The
right.
Last Jedi, anything like that. If you're just
Yeah.
normal about not liking something, like 90% of people are.
Yeah.
But like you said, when it becomes your core personality, and it's like, well, why don't you devote this time to the things you do enjoy? Like, life is extremely short.
Oh, did you? Oh, sorry. I thought you stealth killed that person from the front. Just trying to figure out which way they were moving. That you were able to stealth.
I'm gonna be
kill
honest.
from
On
in front
very
of them.
easy, I think you can do that. I think on very easy, like they will not acknowledge you unless you are like extremely stupid. Which again, I streamed through the whole game a little while ago on very easy, and chat will tell you I did die several times. It's not impossible
Again,
to die. It's just difficult to die.
I spent a whole weekend on very easy and got like 1/6 the way through the first game, so I guess 1/12 of the way through
Yeah,
the equivalent of The Last
there
of
you
Us
go.
Part 2. But like, yeah, I think can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I do wonder watching the show if some of the choices have been made in response to like that extremely loud backlash to it, where like it does feel like the show is maybe preparing you for some of the turns in a way that the game didn't.
Yeah.
Perhaps because it's wary of the idea of that sort of reaction.
Yeah, I
Is
think
that-
part of that is like Deaver's or Abby's motivation
Well, the opening
being
scene, yeah.
front loaded,
No, I got in
I think
trouble.
is a big sign of that.
Never
But also
mind,
like Neil
courthouse.
Druckmann, who's one of the I think he's the co-showrunner and wrote and directed a couple of the episodes this season. It was the writer and director of this game, so it's not like if any
Yeah,
of
it's
those
not like
decisions
somebody
were
else
made,
taking it.
he had a part in the decisions, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not saying it's wrong or anything like that. I'm just kind of wondering if it's just kind of interesting to situate that in the context of.
Yeah, and just I don't know. I think it is going to be. I think part of it is what the fuck is this thing? A stun bomb. The game doesn't have enough
stun bomb.
stun bombs. That's what the game doesn't have enough. Yeah, the game doesn't have enough
I'm glad
moments.
that Ellie's giving you a non-lethal option. I feel like there should be more non-lethal options in this
More
game.
stun bombs.
Parking garage.
We use the stun bomb so we could then run up and stab them in the neck. So don't, it's not a mercy of any sort. So don't worry about that.
a light tasering and cattle prod option. Can you equip a golf club? You probably can equip a golf club.
That I feel like that would be one of those, like, once you beat the game, you're allowed to
you
equip
get
that, like
you
the
get
bonus
carried.
weapons, the goof weapons.
Yeah, is the golf club bloodied though? Like, so
Yeah.
is it the same golf club? Is the question.
Brought it on yourself, I guess.
Oh, I think we got to throw this.
And this actress is this actor is the actor who played her mother in the first season, right?
Yes, Ashley Johnson, who's
Johnson.
incredible.
Yeah.
And Troy Baker, who played Pedro Pascal, played in the first season. He was.
Was he one of the guards?
He was. Remember David, like the kind of the cannibal, creepy.
Yes.
Figure in
Cult
the-
guy played by
Yeah.
Scott Shepard, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. He was like that guy's right hand man. So he showed up.
Okay.
He showed up in a couple
Handy.
episodes, and then Laura Bailey, who played Abby in this game, was one of the nurses at the end of season 1 who
Gets killed.
in the room. No, doesn't get killed.
What's it say?
Does he
Ah.
shoot the
This
nurses?
guy was a Fedra commander.
Fair point. I think he just shoots
He
the
shoots
doctor.
the doctor, and I think the nurse is like,
losing
"Well,
to
we
the
don't want to get
WLF
shot."
and trying to escape.
We can't perform the operation. We're
can't
not
perform
medical practitioners. Yeah.
Take screenshot because I can't remember.
You don't need a lot if you're that.
Oh, that's the
vicious.
code. Okay.
You need to be careful.
Yeah, people. It's always a goofy thing of like the environmental storytelling of like there will be a safe at one part of the level, and then you go to another part, and they're like, "Oh, you dummy! You forgot all about the code. Here it is."
I do like we wrote this secure code on
Yeah.
the whiteboard in the room, just in case any of you forget how to access
Yeah.
the safe.
860722.
Oh, so it's not even in a different room. I love that.
No,
I love
yeah.
that so much.
8607. I think this is like the first. This might be the first safe you encounter in the game.
Yeah, to
so maybe
teach you how to
later
do it
on
again.
they're like much more complicated.
But yeah, again, teaching you as you go the wonderful art of kind of like level design where you learn as you go.
Yeah. There's a lot of those things. You know, people. People always joke about the phrase "yellow paint," which is in a level. If in order to sort of guide the player's eyes, there might be like a streak of yellow, like paint on a ledge or on the side of a wall to clue the player into like, oh, this is where I should be heading. And people are always like, oh, they're treating us like idiots and holding our hands. But they're like, no, we have research. 90% of players got lost here. And so we need to do something to kind of guide their eye. And it's, the best games tend to do that subtly, and you don't even realize you're doing it. Maybe it's like a bit of lighting or something like that. But yeah, I think
Careful.
people don't realize, especially people who are very hardcore into games, that the vast majority of people who play games are not the hardcore. The vast majority are relatively casual who just kind of want to wind down, after a long week of work and don't necessarily
there's a
want
reason-
to be tested.
But there's a reason why like Grand Theft Auto is going to be the biggest media event of next year. You know, it's because it's the hardcore gamers will be there, and I hope they have a great time with it as well, obviously. But like, it will be idiots like me who are like, where do I go? I have no shame. I'm willing to admit that I'm the idiot who needs that.
It's
yellow
me,
paint.
idiots.
It's me. I'm gonna represent idiots on this podcast. But I do appreciate like that sort of level. Do like again, and when I played it, good sound design as well.
Oh, real good sound design, yeah.
Very good sound design.
Listen, I've never killed a zombie with a gun before, but I imagine it
But
would
I
sound like
imagine.
this. Yeah.
But yeah, like just again, very immersive and very tense.
Yeah.
Proper jump scares at points.
Yeah,
Which again
there's
is something very effective about a game.
There's something that's going to be in the third season, a big set piece that is,
Jesus.
I think, easily kind of the most capital H horror of either of the games, and I'm very excited how they portray in the series.
Okay.
Yeah, Abby's journey is very like it goes a lot of places. It's not just like, oh, she's gonna be going to the exact places Ellie did, but an hour beforehand or an hour after. Like her journey is very different. It's still in Seattle, but a lot of different locations, a lot of different sort of set pieces and characters we haven't been introduced to and stuff. So, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to how they handle that
Who's our
15
guest?
years from now when the season comes out.
And again, like one of those things about video games is that it's very hard to have that kind of meta knowledge of, like, with a movie or a television show, you know how long. Well, you know how long an episode of TV is because it's normally 45 minutes. But even if it's not, you know how long it is because you can just see what's coming next and figure out where the ending is.
Oh, yeah.
And you know how long a movie is because it's on the back of the box.
Yeah.
But like as you said, you have no idea. You get to that point at the end of this season of the TV show, and you assume that you're gearing up for the final boss battle, I assume, against Abby.
Yeah.
And then you're like, nope, whole other game, basically.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, no wonder it took however many years it took to make this.
Yeah.
But it is still incredible. It's something, again, I can't think you could replicate in film.
No, and it is, I think, pretty daring, whether you like it or not. I think it's admirable for how daring it is that, especially, the TV show handled it the same way with that title card where they make a point of being Seattle Day 1, Seattle Day 2, and Seattle Day 3 with Ellie. And so for them to end on Abby with Seattle Day 1, I think most audience members are like, okay, I see what the next season's going to
I
be.
intuit what's happening. Yeah. No, it's a clear communication of intent. Like, I mean, I think I got it. Like from that ending, I was like, okay, this seems to be what we're doing, and also this seems to be what the game was doing. I do wonder, like, with the and again, this is a question about the difference between the games and the show, but like cutting to like the amount of time we spent with Isaac this season, for example. Like, how does that end up? Do we just reuse the same footage of Isaac in the third season? Do we see different scenes of Isaac?
Yeah,
It's interesting that it's not so narrowly fixated on Ellie's perspective as I kind of imagined it would be in hindsight, knowing that they were going to do the other angle on it. It is interesting.
Yeah, and it's interesting too how like they give us a little bit of Isaac, they give us a little bit of the Seraphites, and then it's kind of assumed that Abby probably has more of a connection to these people. Like Isaac is literally her boss, or I don't know what.
He's her Joel, right? That's the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, and like even that finale, how he's like, where is she? Because if we die,
She is the future.
Yeah, she is the future. So, and then the same thing, like while the Seraphites are completely foreign concepts to Abby or Ellie and Dina, obviously Abby and the WLF have been dealing with them seemingly for quite a while, and so we'll find out like what's going on with that island. Who are these people? And one thing I like too, which I don't think is a spoiler, is they will actually have Seraphites that are human characters. They're not just going to be people that Jeffrey Wright is going to scald with copper cookware.
But I do love that, like, even in that scene, like, the thing that most shows would do would be like, okay, we're going to outline, like, exactly what your deal is and what our deal is or whatever it is. Instead, the show goes down the path of, no, I'm going to give you some backstory about me personally. I'm going to talk about, like, my experience impressing women. I'm going to talk about what these torture implements now mean to me. Like, it's, again, it's a very nice... And obviously, it gets you to the scene where it's like, you kill our children. It's like, well, you train your children to shoot at us. And it's like, yes, because you shoot at our children. And you get into, obviously that's thematically the cycles of violence that are tied to what, Ellie and Abby are going through as well. But the show doesn't stop and go, so as you guys know, 5 years ago, the Seraphins attacked our outpost on the edge of Seattle. And then that led to, you don't get that kind of level of like fixation on kind of lore and world building that, a lot of these shows would do. It said just trusts you to go, okay, fascists versus fanatics.
Yeah.
And we can fill that in later on.
And it's not hard to imagine how a group like this would form in a scenario like this, because groups like that are forming in a scenario that's not like that, right in front of our eyes. So it is not that foreign or alien of a concept. Oh, Jesus. I got so scared I accidentally took a screenshot.
But it is even like a flash shot. It would be kind of cool if like Ellie just had like a flash Polaroid camera, and you could just in the middle of that. Did you just shoot Dina?
No, Dina. No, I wouldn't have done that.
She's pregnant.
She's fine. We don't know that yet.
I don't know. I hate that shit.
So that makes it okay.
Makes it okay.
I didn't know she was pregnant when I shot her.
Barcos.
Barco saw.
I think that's a little key. I think you can use it. So again, this is stuff like you don't have to do any. We
Yeah.
had to do the thing where we got the gasoline tank from, because that's our goal
Hey,
right now, is to get
found
2
a
tanks
key.
of gasoline to press on.
Says
But
Barco's
stuff
on
like this.
Yeah, because obviously your horse runs on gas. Yeah,
it is horsepower. That's,
yeah.
that's what that is. Zararthur, thank you so much for 25 bits over in Twitch. I'm giving a couple bits because I may be out of money, but thanks to
Figure this
you,
place
I'm
out.
not out of Mooney.
Oh,
That's your name. That was
Nice.
a Money Mooney joke.
I do. Mooney must be funny.
God. Captain President,
I did-
$20 dono, a pair of $20 donos. First one,
Ooh.
bad form. David Carradine approves of the rope physics. Man died.
I
Captain President.
saw that and I was like, I have no comment on that.
But follows it up with a nice one. That horse is very
You don't
patient.
say.
So there you go.
Oh,
I'm going to focus on the
Shimmer,
nice one. The
shimmer.
horse was very patient.
Shimmer says
Shimmer.
bakery.
And then Nidoram, thank you so much for a $5 dono. I don't have time to watch this now, but I would love to see Marty and Darren doing this stream together. Thanks, you guys. We are doing this
You
stream
only
together.
have yourself.
Oh, we're not going to
Yeah,
play
and
the
if
whole
you're
game.
watching it back, oh yeah,
Oh, just to clarify, yeah, we're not. This isn't like a. This isn't.
I do love the idea we're going to spend 36 hours here. I brought several bottles.
Hey, isn't that the key you found?
It's important not to confuse them.
And we specifically started about an hour and a half into it just for shits and giggles. Yeah.
Yeah, just because we figured like 36 hours is doable, 37 and a half
Yeah.
is too much.
We were trying to figure. Casey and I do a weekly stream on Wednesday evenings that we've been doing for several years, where we play through entire games like 2 hours at a time.
Oh,
And we've done
okay.
like the Metal Gear games and the horror games, Dead Space.
Ration distribution
And we're trying to figure out. We're wrapping up a game. We're trying to figure out what to do next. And he hasn't played The Last of Us
I go
Part 2.
crazy.
And we were like, would that work?
Some
And then we were
people
like,
did.
this would,
Come
for
on,
like a
this is
30-hour game, this would take us like, I think half a year to do on stream.
Yes.
Which,
Jotting this down.
it's not saying we're not going to do it, but we'll see.
But like, is this again? And this is something as an observer. I love that this stream is basically just Darren asks questions about video games. But are games getting longer? Because I see a lot of discussion about like, because obviously games are getting more expensive because everything
Yeah.
is getting more expensive, and I see the debate about like the value of the purchase of a video game in terms of the amount of time you spend playing it. Are games getting like longer as a rule? Is that kind of that the game is twice as long as you thought it was reveal more and more common these days?
I think it was the trend, and I think, like all trends, I think it's a pendulum that is swinging back.
Okay.
I think people started to equate, and again, I don't want to tell anyone
Yeah.
the value of their money, because that is a case by case basis.
Their own
and-
business, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I think there was a while where people were like, I think you should get X amount of
seen one
playtime
of these in a
per
while.
dollar you spend. And, being in a place of privilege, I've never felt that way. I've mostly been like, there are games that last 4 hours that to me I would pay $60 for, because it was such an incredible 4 hours. And, but it's also my job, and I'm able to afford that and everything. And so, that being said, it does feel like people more and more are gravitating back towards wanting kind of tighter, more focused experiences, and kind of being like, listen, unless you're, again, one of those rare developers like a Rockstar that can make a giant 100-hour game and fill it with 100 hours of entertainment, then they'd rather have, if you have 12 hours of story, just give us a 12-hour game. Like, there's no reason to artificially extend things with a bunch of, boring
Side quests or
Yeah,
puzzles
yeah.
or
Man,
I do love, by the way, that like video games has its own equivalent of movies are too long now.
Yeah.
Going on.
Absolutely, yeah.
The Netflix bloat, but for video
Yeah.
games.
got a bunch of
Oh, hey, is this the music store?
This might be the
this-
aha, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Take on me. I do love, by the way, one of the things I noticed about the second season is that like it feels more. It is actually with the guitar. Good
Yeah, I
call.
think this is, it is the same song and everything. It's that scene was very much framed. This is something I think you could just miss. This is optional, so
Yeah.
we could have not
Ah.
gone in this store and still continued with the main mission.
But like one of the things I found watching the second season is even more than the first season. It feels like the visual language of the show is more video gamey. So you have like that sequence when they go into Seattle for the first time to the WLF, to the WLF headquarters.
Yeah.
Where they're like hiding behind crates, peering round corners.
Yeah.
And it is shot exactly like the stealth mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
There's a moment where I think in the final episode where she pulls a gun and the camera moves over her shoulder.
Yeah.
Which is very much like the aiming mechanic.
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
game.
And you're like, oh, am I in control of this now? Can I actually move this?
Yeah. And even as you say, the way that this is shot is very similar to how it's shot in the show. But in the show itself, the way that it's shot, there's a gap behind her that is very consciously video game sized gap for a person to walk through.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
like
What was that?
I find it interesting that the show is embracing the visual language of video games as much as we're adapting the plot or we're adapting the story or we're adapting the characters.
And it's funny because it is kind of an Ouroboros because the
that
game is
bonfire?
clearly very filmic. The game has these cutscenes that are non-interactive and everything. And so it does very much.
Marty,
feel
your
like...
mic's a bit low. Apparently, I'm seeing
my
in the chat,
mic's a
your
bit
mic's
low?
I am just very loud, but yeah, your mic is a bit low.
I mean, Abba Zappa. Does anyone else think that? Maybe that's just an Abba Zappa thought.
Oh, okay, all right. Oh, you play?
I am
That's
playing.
very cool.
Yeah, there were videos after the game came out where people were like playing entire songs based
Amazing.
on that.
Yeah. And look, that's a significant bite out of the $2 billion budget. Is paying for the AHA song rights.
It's funny. One of the other big song, which Joel, the Pearl Jam song, "Future Days." That was the song Joel played for Ellie in the flashback episode on her birthday, like at the table. The thing is, so the game takes place 10 years later than the show does. The show like moved it because I think the game starts in 2013 and then the apocalypse is supposed to be 2033. Or like the present is 2033 and then the game or the show starts in 2003, but that was before the song Future Days was written. And so people are like, maybe this is a world where Joel just created that song.
It's like yesterday. Joel is actually woke up from an alternate universe where Pearl Jam still continued to record after the apocalypse. And again, like the amount of time the show invests or the game invests in, as you say, very cinematic storytelling. I think that was one of the criticisms I heard of it, is that like it was an adaptation from people who played it, as an adaptation feeling kind of pointless because so much of the game is heavily influenced by film and television show.
Yeah.
And that's maybe why the show worked as well as it does, because the blueprint is very clear and very linear. It's not like adapting Mario, where it's like, how do I make this thing work in a 3-act structure?
Yeah.
Whereas one of the observations, and again, I'm speaking secondhand as somebody who only played 1/6 of the game, but it does feel its storytelling is very cinematic in some ways.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I'm just watching
You and Dina are both falling in love with Ellie. As you get through, like in a college dorm room.
Even in the apocalypse, there's always some asshole with a guitar.
I think I was listening to a podcast that talked about how technically in the show, the 2003 during the outbreak was before the trend of sad covers of 80s songs became in vogue. And they're like, did Ellie invent sad covers of 80s songs?
Well, I mean, I do know that like that "Take on Me" guitar riff is from the AHA Unplugged, because like the thing. Sorry to turn this into an AHA podcast. The thing to remember about AHA is because they are like Norwegian, they are like incredibly academically serious about the music that they make. And there's a really great documentary where it like talks to the band members, and they're all like, "We could not stand each other. We had different artistic sensibilities. I thought that we were going to use music as a tool of the revolution to change the way that people saw the world." And it will just cut from that to the "Take on Me" music video, or "The Sun Always Shines on TV," or a shot of them playing synthesizers. Like, we wanted to revolutionize political thought in Europe in the 1980s. But like, I think that they did an MTV Unplugged. That sad guitar cover of "Take on Me" that they use in Deadpool 2 is from their Unplugged session. and I believe the Unplugged sessions were mostly in the 90s, right? So I
Oh
wouldn't
yeah,
be
because that was
surprised.
like even the like Nirvana
was MTV.
Unplugged. There's the
Oh no, you're right. It's 2017. You're right. It was 2017. Apologies. Ooh,
wait, what
Check
was
this out.
the AHA?
their
thing?
MTV. Yeah, the AHA did MTV Unplugged in 2017.
Oh, I would have thought that was the
which
90s
feels-
too, because I remember that was because obviously like Kurt Cobain had the Nirvana one where he did like the Man Who
famous
Sold the World.
Man
and
Who Sold the
everything.
World. Yeah.
That was an interesting beat.
Yeah, and then in early 2018, AHA went on a European
I
acoustic
love
tour,
you.
which was first titled An Acoustic Evening with AHA, but then renamed MTV Unplugged
about
Tour
you
2018.
come
But like, it is such an AHA move to be, let's take this classic upbeat
Bands
synth
apparently
song
use hardcore
and turn it
bands
into a
to
sad,
follow.
melancholy. Did I lose you? A sad, melancholy
sorry.
guitar.
Yeah, I love that.
What we really want to do with our music is touch people, and we cut to them wearing sunglasses, jamming away on the synthesizer.
I always love the stories of bands that have to go on tour even though they clearly hate each other. Like I think about that every time Oasis goes. Like I think Oasis is going back on tour, and I'm like, this is going to be a disaster. Those guys do not want to be anywhere near each other.
Like I live in Ireland, so I know a lot of, and I'm in the right age group. I know a lot of people who have tickets to that gig when they're playing in
Yeah.
Croke Park, and it's like it is the second to last date on their tour, so it is the
Never
most
gonna happen.
tender.
Never gonna happen.
It's like just please don't let one of them have murdered the other one by the time this gig comes around. Did you watch Betterment, by the way? The Robbie Williams.
I did. I thought it was
speaking of
great.
Oasis.
I know
It is.
nothing about Robbie Williams aside from that song Millennium.
Yeah.
So like I had none of the like
And you know that that's a ripoff of was it You Only Live Twice?
You Only Live Twice. Yeah.
That's
the
every-
da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I did not know that at the time. I think I eventually saw You Only Live Twice. It was like, did they rip off? I'm like, no. It's got to be the opposite way. That's insane.
No, this is like a Joel Pearl Jam situation
Yeah.
here. Robbie Williams came up with that completely independently. Ooh, wow, they really are leaning on the ropes physics.
Listen, now it's the rope's wonking out. Oh, I shouldn't have complimented the rope. Now it's embarrassing me.
Not in front of the streamer.
You're embarrassing me in front of Darren. No, I was gonna say it's one of those like when someone comes up with like a really good thing in a game, it's silly. It's silly for them not to just reuse it as much as they can. You know, a game has like infinite budget where they can come up with an idea and just use it once. Like that is the major flex. Oh, this truck reminded me. Someone spotted apparently there's a level in a Seattle neighborhood where you come upon a Fedra truck with the back door closed, and you open it, and there's a bunch of dead soldiers inside, and you kind of just remark, like, what the hell happened to these guys? And it's supposed to be the ones that Jeffrey Wright throws the grenade in, you know, when he kind of
At the start of like the 4th or 5th episode.
yeah, which I thought was a great scene, but that's like a cute little, like, oh, this is kind of neat.
And you didn't know in the game that that's what that was. Like, there's no clue later on.
Like Jeffrey Wright is in the
interesting.
game, but they never show like him, you know.
But there's never even
defecting
like I
from
know they
Fedra.
use like notes and stuff like that. Again, they use like kind of notes and voiceovers.
Yeah,
and
like
stuff like that.
maybe, but nothing that I picked up.
Okay.
Like when I'm playing the game normally, I read all the notes, but it's also possible, obviously, to miss notes because these levels are.
I was sitting in the back of a Fedra truck. Some guy was just talking about voters very stupidly. I took out 2 grenades and I blew him up. I picked the dumb one first and asked him to come out and join me. Give me the dumbest, most malleable one you have, please.
I like how wasn't one of the one of the guys who died in the truck that was like Josh Peck in just like a very small role, and I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of a flex.
But that's Ed Sheeran in Game of Thrones
Yeah,
level stuff
yeah.
going on here. The kind of stuff you could only get on a HBO
Budget,
HBO
yeah.
prestige budget, yeah.
Holy shit, you might get crushed on the way. Relax.
It is
No, and I will say, like,
Like this for years.
to give. Well, I mean, it is a zombie game.
No, it's just very dark. It was just hard for me to see anything.
I have some notes to make about Seattle's Public Works Commission. But I will say actually to the show's credit, it is reaching a new audience. Like my mother, who's not a zombie apocalypse fan, is watching it. My aunt is watching and had to leave the room during the golf club scene.
Oh yeah.
And obviously she did not expect it, and her son, who was watching it with her. Again, it's like the Game of Thrones thing. I do appreciate that it wasn't spoiled.
Yeah.
But unless you're like me and kind of online and kind of suspect these
Sure.
things,
Yeah,
people
but
manage to keep the
my
secret.
mom, the same thing.
Yeah.
My mom watched the show and like texted me the night it happened, and she's like, "He's gonna come back, right?" I'm like, "He will not." I was like, "He'll come back in like a flashback," but no, he is quite dead.
He's gonna get better, right?
He's gonna get better.
It's
Like,
just a flesh wound, yeah.
you could survive from what was it, like a severed golf club to the head or chest or wherever she stabbed him. I'm like, no, I think, like, Mom, you're a nurse. I think you should know he's dead.
I do love the idea of like the season finale just being Joel with an eye patch and no other visible injury with a shotgun, just riding him down. Ooh.
I thought
Wait,
everyone.
oh,
was
that's
dead.
Dina. That's Dina who's shooting, is it?
Oh, there's one more spooky. Yeah, here it is.
Okay, sorry.
Oh
All
shit! I ran. Oh shit!
Why is
Double
your
shit.
health- I was gonna
Stun
say-
bomb? Help me!
What? Is it not already dead?
Okay.
Does the stun bomb work on? I suppose because they hear, isn't there? They've got.
Yeah, like
They
maybe
hunt by
it might
hearing.
like make them sort of disoriented for a second, and then you could either run away or run up to them
Yeah.
and give them a stealth kill,
Not sure.
just
Can
like
I-
real life.
As a player, is Dina as annoying as like every other NPC supporting character in these sorts of games?
No, surprisingly,
Oh.
in both Last of Us 1 and 2, Ellie in the first game, Dina, and other characters later on in the second game are like very competent
Wing people.
NPCs because I don't think they can die, and I don't think they
Fantastic.
can get spotted. So like, they will never blow your cover. If your cover is blown, it's your fault. It's not the
Fantastic.
computer's fault. Yeah.
As somebody who, like, when we played GoldenEye, remembered all those scenes of me accidentally shooting my, like, bodyguard charge in the head.
Yeah.
Because they would not get out of the way. And because auto-aim still aims for them,
Yeah.
which is also frustrating.
Like, oh, sorry, did I just kill Natalia? That's not something from the
Yeah.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we
But it's
got a
like,
vault
why
code.
am I auto-aiming at her? What are you trying to tell me about James Bond as a character?
It's like that movie. Which
Is
one?
James Bond a little misogynist? Who knows? Who can say?
Oh yeah.
Please, James, keep it in the pants. But
Here we go.
oh, another safe, is it?
Oh yeah, I literally just looked at the thing and I've already forgotten what the number was.
But you are conversing while doing. Again, I can't. This is watching people stream. It's like multitasking. Somebody can barely single task.
Bank heist plans. 602-306.
That's very nice that they just wrote those instructions.
Yeah,
down.
feet away from the thing. 60. Oh,
Kind of reminds me of is it The Leftovers, where it's like all the things that people must have been doing when this thing happened. Some poor bloke in the middle of a bank robbery going, "Well, this is spent months planning this, got it all figured out."
It is funny too because when they said, "Oh, they tried to rob this bank," and they're like, "Just like that movie," and they're like, "Yeah, just like that movie." And I'm like, "What movie were they talking about?" I mean, there's a lot of movies. Like, were they talking about Heat? Inside Man,
Well,
I guess.
Isn't that what is it? It's the Until Dawn movie does that, where it's like that movie. Actually, that's lots of movies.
That's actually lots of movies. Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, Jackson does have a cinema. We do see it in the first season. They watch movies in Jackson.
That's true. Yeah.
Jackson has a rich cultural
Yeah.
life.
And they always talk about Joel likes those whatever that shitty fake '80s action movie is,
Look at all this money.
like Kung Fu
Does-
and Charles.
Does that
or
come up
whatever
in
it
the show, or is that in the game?
You were back in
Yeah,
the
Is that
that's
the show?
yeah. In the
Okay.
pilot,
okay.
in the pilot, Sarah is like, "Oh, it's your birthday, so we'll get the DVDs of whatever the movie is."
Okay.
And then in the first episode of season 2, they that little ring is also a reference to Uncharted. That is like the family, the emblem of like the Drake family.
Hey.
So there you go. But yeah, in the first episode of season 2, I think Dina says like, "Oh, she's gonna go watch the movie with Joel," and invites Ellie, and Ellie's like, "I don't think I want to go."
Okay.
They
I
tried
like in
robbing the
these
bank on
scenarios
purpose,
how
but
many people in their
almost
dying
seems fine at the
days,
time.
in their final moments, will just write down a letter. Like, I'm just gonna get angry and just swear a bunch in this letter because I got locked in a vault during the zombie apocalypse. That is a bummer to be doing, like you said, with the leftovers, like to be doing a bank heist, and it's like, shit, there's a zombie outbreak during it. Like, what are the odds?
And to be fair, being stuck in a vault, you probably don't have anything to do but write a long letter
That
explaining
is
your
true, yeah.
situation. Yeah. It's more the like random I'm sitting in a guard tower as the zombies bear down on me. And I'm like, I feel like your time would be more constructively spent doing some other than writing your final thoughts down.
But who are we to judge?
Yeah. I do hope my wife sees this and isn't killed because I failed to protect the guard tower because I was too busy writing this letter saying I hope my wife sees this.
Jombly with a bit border. Thank you so much, Jombly. I second Snake in the Garden. Forget the rope physics. We must now just stream Katamari. Someday we will show Darren. Once the Katamari movie gets announced. Listen, they're announcing everything into a movie. Video game are the new hot IP. Video games are the new superheroes. So we'll get a Katamari movie. At some point.
You saw that like Thunderbolts is going to lose about $100 million, which is a shame because I actually like Thunderbolts.
Yeah, it
No,
was
it's not.
better than most superhero. I mean, like you said, it's not saying a lot, but it's probably the best superhero movie of the last 3 years.
You're asking that thing.
It's been a rough 2 years.
It's been a rough going.
Farmhouse is way
Yeah.
more practical.
When Joker Folly Do is in the conversation,
Yeah.
you're not really doing that well. But yeah, like I kind of figure if like
Complaining.
Superman or Fantastic Four don't break out, or if both of them don't break out, like there is going to be a real sense of what do we do now. And
Yeah.
being honest, looking at the success of the Minecraft movie, of the Super Mario Brothers movie, of The Last of Us on television, it does feel like the one thing Hollywood will learn is video games. That'll be the future.
Yeah, they've seen success. You know, from Fallout saw success, and you know, there's
Even Uncharted was financially a success, right?
Yeah. Sonic
Not
movies and
creatively,
everything.
but financially.
No, creatively, no, absolutely not. But financially, yeah.
You've seen Sonic 3, yeah?
I
don't know
did.
if we talked about
Yeah.
Sonic
I think
3
I think the Sonic movies are by and large just nice. Like they're fine. Like they're not
Yeah.
breaking the mold. I feel like if I was a kid, I would adore them. Like
They're like the one access point you have to Jim Carrey. Like that's the secret sauce. Is that like they're the one place now as a culture where you can get good old fashioned Jim Carrey.
and he clearly loves doing them because like, and especially in the third movie,
The third one where he does 2 of them.
Yeah, like that's like it's like just that feels like the closest thing we've had to like 90s Jim Carrey in an extremely long time.
Yeah. So as long as that is the future of video game movies, I won't mind too much. But I worry that we'll inevitably end up at the point where we start getting Joker Folly Ado, Pac-Man Folly Ado.
They're doing game-wise, they're literally doing a gritty Pac-Man reboot. Like a dark, fucked up take on Pac-Man is coming
Are
out later this summer.
Oh,
Yeah.
video game wise.
Video game-wise, yeah. And it's based on one of the there was that series of animated shorts,
Secret Level.
Yeah.
Level, yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, and again, that gets the cycle of things. Where I guess it's like comic books or like any other form of long-form mass media, where
Oh, yeah.
presumably the adaptations are going to exert an influence.
Yeah,
Although it is
yeah.
weird because, as you point out, the video game industry is bigger than the film industry.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe larger cultural reach, possibly. But like the point where you start seeing the adaptations of these things influencing these things themselves. Where like, yeah, you start seeing Pac-Man games that are based on Pac-Man the movie,
Yeah,
rather than
yeah.
Pac-Man the game.
Yeah.
Oh, does Shimmer just follow you around?
Yeah, smart horse. I
Ah,
got
good
worried. I
horse.
was like, shit, I literally forgot where my horse was. And I just turned around and Shimmer's there.
Oh, can you like whistle for Shimmer or something? Is
There's
there a
gotta be
mechanic
whistle
like that?
button. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whistle DLC.
It reminds again, it's very Zelda. So
yeah.
these are just to make all my own video game references. When you get the horse in Zelda, and it's just like this makes traversing the world so much easier.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Video game horses. And we didn't. Tyrell mentions, obviously, video game movie adaptations. We talked about Elden Ring on Tuesday.
Yes.
You know, the big one coming out soon, and the Death Stranding movie from A24.
From A24.
The director of the
like
Quiet Place movie, which I thought, and Pig, which I thought I liked both of them quite
Yes.
a bit. So.
Yeah. And again, like Alex Garland doing Elden Ring, like I kind of look, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'm cautiously optimistic. My worry is that this will be like the early years of like the comic book thing, where they figure out that to get these things established, we need to hire good directors with talented casts and big budgets and creative freedom to make good movies. And then after about 5 or 6 years, they're like, now people go and see. Oh, I thought you were going to read the map while riding. And now
that's like texting while driving. You're like, that's terrible. You can't do that.
Yeah. Marty, I've approved of everything else you've done over the course of this game, but that was too far. But I do wonder if we'll get to the stage where the video games will get to where you're just churning out nonsense, where it's like you're getting your Thor Love and Thunders, or you're getting your Black Widows, or you're getting your Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom of whatever a video game movie is. But hey, that's a problem for future Darren.
I was about to say, we don't have to worry about that. They do. That's going to be a nightmare. That will absolutely happen. That will be a nightmare. But then I don't know what you go back to, like the YA adaptations. Do they even literally do they make books anymore? Like, what was the last big book that became a movie? Like,
the Blake Lively one. It ends with us.
Oh,
this
that's
year.
right. Yeah. See, I need to get tuned in with book talk more.
I was gonna say you need to read more Chicklet, Marty.
Yeah,
it really feels like Chicklet.
That's the problem.
I will say it ends with us. Very bad film.
It was bad. Yeah, it was bad. This is.
There are your dead bodies.
Yeah.
Okay, so he look, and he at least disposed of them first.
See,
so that's very thoughtful of him. Yeah. into the water supply, into the city's water. The best place to put a dead body.
Let no one say Jeffrey Wright wasn't thoughtful in his.
Doesn't clean up
comments.
after himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay.
I'll just steal all their things. It's fine.
Yeah,
Listen, if someone's been dead for 20 years, you're allowed to take their things. I don't know how if that's if people are fine with that, but I think grave robbing after 20 years. It's fine.
I mean, just grab a shovel. It's just one way to find out.
It's good exercise. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Where am I going? If I was. Do I even? Maybe I have the things I need.
Oh.
I'm just gonna
Okay.
fly around.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Again, the young adult stuff is kind of this is the thing when we say the comic book boom might end. It's always going to be there. They're always going to keep making them in the same way that like the young adult boom has technically ended, but we're still getting like Hunger Games spin-offs, and we're still getting a Harry Potter reboot.
Yeah,
like the big ones will stick around.
Yeah, it is weird though that we're getting the same ones that we had. You know, like we're just getting Harry Potter again, and we're just getting the prequel to the Hunger Games.
Prequels.
That's being recast. Yeah, like I'm waiting. Like, are they going to do prequels to all those like forgettable ones like Divergence or whatever?
They would need to finish
Maze
Divergent
Runner.
first, right?
Did they never finish?
They need to... it was meant to. Did it? The thing was, it was originally meant to be a theatrical movie. Then it was announced as a TV movie. I don't know if the TV movie was ever made.
That's a shame. Truly a shame.
Like it was a 2-part finale. First part released in theaters. Second part was after they saw the box office results. Like, it's grand. It's going to be a TV event, and I don't know if the TV event ever happened.
How depressing.
Oh shit.
Percy Jackson. Percy Jackson and the.
That's right. That's
and the Olympians.
That is on Disney, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they've announced second season's coming, third season will be coming, which means it might be one of the longest running Disney Plus shows, just by default.
I mean,
WLF
listen, if they
something.
don't remove it from their services, it's going to beat Willow regardless. The most depressing.
Again. But like, what even is the point of a streaming service? Like, what even like if I can't pay €8 a month or €18 a month or however much it is to Disney Plus and get to watch everything that Disney have made. What is the point of like having a Disney Plus subscription? Isn't it just like Netflix but lesser at that point? Because they're adding the Mission Impossible movies. This Disney Plus are adding the Mission Impossible movies this month, and I'm like, those should be on Paramount.
Why? Yeah, like this. None of this makes sense.
Multiple wives. Great
Like,
dude.
what is the point of me having a Paramount Plus subscription if I can't watch the movies from Paramount that I want to watch?
No, I remember like there's stuff like I feel like the Batman movies or even like the Harry Potter movies, like you would just assume they would always be on HBO, but they like just jump around. It'd be like they're on Hulu now, they're on Netflix now, and you're like, why? Like what is the logic behind this?
that's fine as long as you don't have a service that is specifically designed to have everything on it.
Yeah, yeah.
If is it now HBO Max again? Have we gone back?
Yeah, right?
HBO Go, HBO Max, HBO Max.
And, like, I don't... Like, where is... If you were to want to watch Westworld now, like, where is that? Because they removed
true. That
it from
disappeared.
HBO, right? And they, like, were putting it on... What was it called?
Yeah.
Snap? Is that what the...
WLF just wiped the military
not Snap.
The free to view.
Yeah, the kind of the
Most
free to view
successful
stuff,
military
like...
flies ever were.
But I don't know, I pay for enough things to where I usually don't, like, except for, like, Tubi, I'll fire up every
Tubi.
once in a while, mostly just because I want to support Jack. I don't know if firing it up helps Jack at all, but I feel like it does.
Somewhere Jack smiles.
Yeah,
He doesn't know why, but he smiles.
I think we got everything here.
Sitting in the dentist chair, smiling randomly. It's like,
Dentist is like, wow, the laughing gas really kicking in.
yeah, let's say, is this the nitrous oxide or did somebody fire
Yeah.
up Tubi? We don't know. There's no way of knowing for sure. But no, I'm trying to think, is there, in terms of like The Last of Us Season 2, what else is there to kind of run through? I think it's a good season. I really like seeing Catherine O'Hara. Jeffrey Wright's very good. Joe Pantoliano's very good. Like,
Casting
I
still
thought it was
great,
very well
yeah.
made.
Casting top notch. It does. I think like just my main problem with it is just the inherent like, oh, it's going to take a very long time to get to the back half of this story, which, you know, it's that's just the nature of the beast now. So like I feel like I can't really. I don't really have like a clear cut. This is how I feel about it until you see how the back half's going to turn out. You know, that was very much like, you know, didn't want to put any stamps on Andor until I saw season 2, and then once I saw season 2, I'm like, oh, this is like as good as it gets. And so yeah, we'll see with The Last of Us.
Can I ask a question? Like, is there ever been any talk of like The Last of Us 3? Like, surely, like with the interest, I don't know if the TV show makes a difference to the video game's popularity, or if the video game is just so big that like it's nothing. But like, I do wonder if like, surely there has to have been some gossip about, oh, we're going back to The Last
you
of Us
going?
outside of these
There's
remasters.
something back here.
Yeah,
Presumably.
there's. My gut says yes, that there will be a Last of Us 3.
And are we going to have a George R.R. Martin situation? Will they release The Last of Us 3 before we get to... It's, like, is that the stalling tactic behind, oh no, we need 3 seasons to tell the Last of Us Part 2 story? So that when we arrive at Season 5, we got The Last of Us 3 waiting for us.
I don't know. Like, I get the feeling... I've read some stories about how the viewership for Season 2 was down quite a bit from Season 1. And so I think if that trend continues with the Season 3, that the TV show won't be kind of the core focus. That I do think there'll be a third game, but I think it will be a game before it's a TV series. Maybe then they'll adapt it into a series, but you know, I would say that the game ends. No spoilers. The game ends on a more concrete note, I think, than the first game does. The first game very much ends. It ends exactly where the first season ended, where you know,
they woke
Ellie
off into the sunset together, having lied. Or
yeah,
Joel
Ellie
having lied
says,
to Ellie.
"Listen, I'm going to ask you one last time, and I will believe you. Is what you're saying about Salt Lake City true?" And Joel lies to her and says yes, and she says, "Okay." And that's like where the game ends, but it's clearly very ambiguous because, like, I think Ellie's smart enough to kind of, right from the beginning, she knew something was fishy there.
I do think like, that was a great ending, by the way. Like, yeah.
Oh,
like,
I
and
love
then, like
it.
that's
Yeah.
the difference between this ending of the ending of Season 2 and the ending of Season 1 is like, if Season 1 was the only season and that was the place where we left it, I would be fine with that. Whereas if this was the place where we left it, I'd be like very, very angry.
Sure, yeah,
yeah.
Where am I? I'm looking for that fucking note of game codes I had. Sorry,
And
no,
not that this is kind of something to be concerned about from our point of view, but yeah, the viewership being down is interesting. I mean, again, they say it was a low, what was it, a low Memorial Day weekend? Because everybody was at the cinema seeing Lilo and Stitch and Tom Cruise one last time. I think the ratings are on average slightly higher for the second season, but that's because it premiered so strong. I do wonder if killing Joel is like an audience departure point for the show in the same way it was for the game, where if like you're watching for Pedro Pascal, America's tired stepdad.
Yeah.
Is there a point where you're like, okay, he's out, I'm out?
Yeah.
And then the question is like, if the third season is going to drop Bella Ramsey as well, who is the other lead of the show from the first season, like, while it's an interesting narrative experiment that I support wholeheartedly and I'm actually looking forward to seeing play out, is there an element of how do we convince viewers to come back for that? Is this an audience alienating premise?
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be. I don't know. I'm very curious to see how at the end of the day how it all kind of pans out, especially being able to view the thing as a final product as opposed to a single act of a story.
That was some good scavenging.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. Again, it'll be something where like a good TV. Like that's the magic of television. I mean, I don't get to rewatch as much television as I like because there's so much of it.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's much more of a commitment than even watching a film series. It's a lot easier to watch the 8 Mission Impossible movies than it is to rewatch all of Star Trek: The Next Generation time-wise.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
like
After everything
when you revisit a good show, when you rewatch like I think Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad or if it's something short, it's a miracle to see it all fit together.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, that's something that you just can't. That's. They're either it's silly to say one medium is stronger than the other, but it kind of gives you something. It can tell a story that feels like a novel, in a way that a movie can't. And if done correctly, if done well, then I think that's extremely powerful. Oh, John Blee with a bitboard. I did forget about that. Said, ooh, tell Darren about the office being in the game. Yes, there is an office building later on in the game that you can go into, and the layout of the office is the layout of the Dunder Mifflin office from the television series The Office.
Love little in-jokes like that. Love the non-copyright infringing in-jokes.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you copyright a building layout?
You probably can, but it's probably not something you can determine from like walking through it. To be fair, unless like the introduction of the office is a picture of the office plan, you probably have a very hard time selling the idea that it's distinctive. What's I watching? I was watching National Lampoon's European Vacation, and Eric Idle getting "It's Only a Flesh Wound."
Oh yeah.
We resemble but are legally distinct from, or was it Superman 2 where they have the sheriff? Is it Pepper show up from the Roger Moore Bond films?
That's right.
Because they were all shot in Pinewood. So the actor.
Oh,
was
is that
just
true? They're just like,
around
fuck it, we'll just use this. Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? Like, to be fair, that's Superman 2, which was a real. We need to make 75% of this movie again quickly now.
What do we have?
Yeah. Call the guys at Pinewood. They'll know what to do.
Yeah.
What if you stick a hick sheriff in? That'll solve the problem.
What do you think about the Superman sequels? I assume you're a fan of Superman 1, right?
Superman 1 I love. Superman 2 I think the theatrical cut is fine. I really like the Donner cut as an artifact. Obviously it's imperfect. Like it literally uses screen test footage at one point during the movie, but I actually really like it as this is an attempt to bring my vision to life as a kind of this was taken away from me, and this is a sort of a proto Snyder cut situation, but without like the toxicity of the Snyder cut around it.
Sure.
Where it's like my creative vision was taken away from me, and I've been given a chance to make it right, or a chance has been given to make it right. Superman 3 is terrible, despite like Richard Pryor being involved. I don't hate Quest for Peace. Quest for Peace is fascinating because you know the deal with Quest for Peace, right? It's an embezzlement. It's an embezzlement scam.
What do you mean? No, I don't know.
Yeah, so this is beautiful. So it's this to give a sense of like how welcome to the podcast where we talk about Superman movies on the Last of Us stream. But Superman, to give a sense of like how little value the studios had in like comic book movies during the 1970s and 1980s, they basically Warner Brothers outsourced the production of Superman 4 to Canon Film Group.
Okay.
and Canon Film Group were like, yeah, we'll make your Superman movie for $20 million, $30 million. That sounds about right. And it turns out that what Canon were actually doing was taking the payment of $30 million, spending about $15 million of it on making Superman 4 and spreading the other $15 million around their other productions.
That's amazing. I had no idea about that.
And there were several points at which, like, they went back to Warner Brothers cap in hand and were like, look, we know you gave us a whole bunch of money, but it turns out this project is much vaster in scope than we thought it was. We're going to need a little top up.
Listen, it takes a lot of money to believe a man can fly, so.
But that's it. Like, you go and you watch the movie and you wonder, like, how could this have cost, $80 million or whatever it was that it cost, inflation adjusted? It becomes very clear that it only cost about half of that.
That's
and Canon were just like trying desperately to avoid going bankrupt. Like they made, is it Street Smart was the one they made with, again, because Christopher Reeve.
Yeah,
where to do Superman 4, the nuclear plot was Christopher Reeve's. I love that they just don't see Dina there.
It's fine.
She's just walking beside you.
It's fine.
And you're
it's
just
fine.
like, no,
Invisible.
it's great.
Invisible. It's fine.
But, like, obviously they made Superman 4 is about nuclear weapons because that's something that Christopher Reeve cares about, and that's a way to lure him back in. But they did Street Smart, which is the movie that, like, Christopher Reeve's like, this is going to help people take me seriously as an actor, finally. I'm no longer going to be the guy who's seen in, like, the blue long johns and the red undies. And that ends up getting an acting Oscar nomination for Morgan Freeman. It's Morgan Freeman's breakout role, and it's like, it's so funny because it's meant to be like Christopher Reeve's I can act moment. They'll finally see me for who I am. And it's like, just cast some random dude as my sidekick. It turns out to be Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, you discover a generational talent.
Yeah. But yeah, and then obviously, like, Superman Returns is horrid. And the weird thing about Superman Returns is that, like, it feels like Psycho, so indicative of where we were going as a culture.
Oh, yeah.
Where it is just this kind of weird fetish object that is, like, so nostalgic for the movies that you saw when you were a kid that it doesn't bother having its own, like, perspective or story or characters or ideas. And it feels like if that came out today and did not involve two sex offenders, we would be, as a culture, be like, this is Deadpool and Wolverine. They're finally doing Superman right.
Yeah, it is one of those movies that when you look at now through the 2025 lens, you're like, oh, this kind of feels evil, like, given who was involved in it.
And it's again, like, not to say anything about him as a person, Kevin Spacey very good at playing creeps.
Oh, yeah.
Donovan is obviously, like, got a great range. Clearly, like, nothing about him as a person has any sort of, like, connection to that whatsoever. But very convincing as a creep. Whenever Kevin Spacey shows up and gives you creep, it's properly good creep. I would say, like, depressingly, Spacey is maybe the best on-screen Luthor because he's the one who actually feels menacing.
Sure, like, Gene Hackman is fun, but is incredibly silly.
Whereas I do believe that, like, the Kevin Spacey has, like, shanked several people. Would not surprise me. Yeah.
My family always made it out alive.
And it's the only version of Luthor on screen I believe that of. I don't think of Jesse Eisenberg.
No, we'll just say that one doesn't count. we'll just call that one a mulligan. Do you have high hopes? Where are you at on Nicholas Hoult? He's great in The Great. Great in The Great.
Hoult is. But do you know? Have you heard the story about the production of Juror Number 2?
No.
Where every time Nicholas Hoult would show up on set, Clint Eastwood, who is, to be clear, 92 years old at the time, would stand up and salute him and call him Captain Cunny, because Clint Eastwood was a massive fan of The Great.
Oh,
and there is a recurring There is a recurring joke in The Great about how good Nicholas Holt's character is at performing oral sex.
Yeah. Where do you even go from there in life to where if from Clint Eastwood, like, saluting you for that, you're like, well, I've probably peaked as a human being, right?
But it's like for that. It's like it's not for my work, like About a Boy or when I did like the Order, the white supremacist movie. For the fact that, like, in a TV on a Hulu TV show as well, like 93-year-old Clint Eastwood sitting down in bed, getting ready to tuck himself in with a cup of tea, turning on The Great, which is a show that I love. If you haven't seen The Great is fantastic, but it's not what I imagine 93-year-old Clint Eastwood sitting down.
Sure.
Hey, through here.
Do you think Clint Eastwood still has one more in him?
I need to run down very quickly. Can I come back in 2
Oh, yeah,
seconds?
go for it.
Sometimes. Really? When?
Chat, now that Darren's gone, we can just talk about Gundam. Get all of your Gundam questions in right now, and I will answer them.
Sometimes I just
I will rank every
say little ones
Zaku
to myself.
from 1 to 100 on
Does it help?
sex
I think
appeal.
it calms me. Helps me put things in perspective.
The Zaku Mark II,
Way to
very
deal
high
with
sex
grief.
appeal. G-Quux? Oh, don't get me started on G-Quux. First off, why there's so many U's? That's my first question. My first question, why there's so many U's in G-Quux? Does Darren like Gundam? I'm going to say Darren probably does not like Gundam. He's probably not anti-Gundam, but I'm imagining Darren's probably not a big Gundam fan.
Get back. Sorry.
Was that...
Girls are being the only person in a house on a busy street.
I'm
Oh, hey.
assuming that was Clint Eastwood being like, don't tell my stories on your podcast.
Yeah, 93-year-old Clint Eastwood flew all the way to Ireland.
Yeah. He was watching the stream. He's like, oh, God damn it. Darren's blowing up my spot.
It's like, this is my great watching time.
My great watching time. I want to know what else. What else is he
Maybe I should
watching?
get a balcony with
If he's
this.
watching the great, like,
Because it's such a like you could have told me he's watching
Ellie,
maybe like
careful.
Yellowstone, and I would have been,
Sure.
I'd buy that. That
Yeah.
makes sense, you know.
Totally.
Or he loves NCIS. It feels like okay, probably not that much of a surprise. That's his guilty pleasure is watching. But it's like the great.
yeah.
Clint Eastwood, a man of like so many surprises. Such an interesting man.
I think all auteurs should have to do the Soderbergh thing, and at the end of the year, just write down everything that they watched. Steven Soderbergh
like, is it-
year end always he's everything I've watched in a year, and it includes like garbage reality TV and you know digging through the Criterion closet and everything. And I'm like, this is what I want to see from every big director.
How does he watch? I don't direct movies, and I don't watch that much media. That's what's just like. That's what's so like embarrassing about Soderbergh.
Yeah.
What is it like Soderbergh? And again, Soderbergh, to give you an idea of like how different Soderbergh is from, or how different directors are. There's a story Soderbergh tells about like Fincher, like working with Fincher and saying like just to give a sense of how different our philosophies are as like filmmakers or directors. Like sitting in an editing booth and seeing Fincher come in and point to the top corner of the screen and going, "There's a place about 6 inches in there. The black needs to be 2 shades darker," and like Soderbergh being like, I could not do that.
Look,
like that,
yeah. Like literally, what are you looking at? Yeah.
Yeah, that level of attention to detail on every single frame of the movie would break me. I would not be able to make 2 movies in like 6 months if I operated with that.
Yeah,
like,
right.
intensity.
It's having a roof over
Yeah, I
my
guess
But
that's
hey,
the thing is when you're as
Fincher's making-
prolific,
I've
like
always treated
Soderbergh is.
Yeah.
It is shocking that he's able to release things like
outside of
Presence and
Jackson.
Black Bag in the
Why wouldn't
same
you stay in town?
season,
And they're both
both of them
great.
being as good as they are. Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like
Hey, Fincher's making like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That's
too.
right. Yeah.
Twice Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
sheep.
Twice Upon a Time in
Are you
Hollywood.
making fun of me?
We'll see if that actually exists.
No.
I feel like I feel like for every 5 Fincher projects that gets announced, one of them actually comes to fruition.
I do like. I love that he's Brad Pitt's like sequel guy. He's
Yeah.
always almost Brad, like because it was World War Z 2. was the one he
Yeah,
was
that's
supposed to do.
right. Yeah.
I mean, I just want to hear him announced to F2. Like that's the thing after this summer.
F2. Oh God. And the Fungus Finder with a $2 dono. Thank you so much. While you left, I told chat that while Darren's gone, we're just going to talk about Gundam, the big robot anime.
Ah.
And so Fungus Finder said, "Can Gundams combine Gatai, Tengen Toppa, Gurren Lagann is Gundish?" Well, it's
Those
I
feel like a
understand.
logical second season arc, right?
Yeah.
That feels like a if you set up Gundams,
Yeah.
right? Your like
Hey,
cliffhanger
it's a big
is
city.
why are there
barely
there are
started
now
looking.
2 Amazon trucks outside my house and they seem to be
Just wanna see
talking to
one
one
in a
another. It's
while.
very disconcerting. They're planning something.
They're planning something. It's the great Bezos heist of
yeah, they're loitering with intent outside my
20
home.
of
It's very odd.
2025. That being said, we can wrap up now because A, we solved our mission, and B, I have a meeting in 5 minutes. And
Oh, sorry.
we
Okay,
eat
sorry,
and get
sure.
water. No. Don't you apologize. You didn't do anything. You didn't do anything except be great. That's what you did. Just like you know what? I salute you for being great. Me and Clint salute you.
Just for that.
Just for that. No, nothing else. And then Sussy Guru with a €5 dono. Thank you so much. I think such a level of attention to detail isn't necessary for every director. At some point, you just need it for Control.
Different strokes for different folks. Like, that's the thing. It's whatever works for each individual director. I mean, I'm not going to tell Fincher he's wrong to do it his way, but Soderbergh also found a way that worked for Soderbergh.
Sure. Yeah, if I were a director, would I want to do the Kubrick-Fincher thing of making people do 100 takes for no reason? No, I would not, because that seems insane. However, do I love their movies? I do, so more power to them.
You should do it just once. I feel like you should try it just once. You should be like, this is the scene in the movie where we're doing 100 takes. I want you all to get comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
We fully stocked the craft table.
Everyone just settle in.
Adult diapers are available.
This is going to be a long night of Scatman Crothers being hit with an axe.
And pick the most complicated scene as well.
Yeah, with the oldest actor. And then Snake in the Garden with a €2 dono. Thank you so much, Snake. Second question. Best sport in the Olympics plus the best summer drink. I like an Arnold Palmer. I like a mix of lemonade and iced tea. Half lemonade, half iced tea, which is an amazing summer drink. And then best sport in the Olympics.
They did add, what was the dancing? The break dancing?
Oh, yeah. That one was a nightmare. That was terrible.
Okay, so that's a hard no.
I thought the people who shot the guns looked cool. I'm anti-gun, but
the two of them
looked very cool. Yeah, it's cool to see people throw things. I like throwing a javelin, throwing a shot put. Those are always neat.
Yeah, things that have points on them, like fencing. Fencing is also fun to watch.
There you go. What's your summer drink?
I'm very boring at Coke with ice in it. That'll just every time when I want to treat myself, I'll get a glass, put lots of ice in it, have a Coke, get a nice effervescence off the top of it. That's just heaven.
See, that sound, I could hear it. I can hear the bubbles. And it sounds glorious.
Yeah.
And then John Brooks with a 20-pound dono. Thank you so much, John Brooks, for Persona. Good to see you, Darren. Thank you so much. Yeah, our current funding goal, which we're close to hitting, is Nick being forced to play 8 more hours of Persona 5. But we're going to sneak in. He's actually going to watch Ingmar Bergman's Persona instead. I'm sure Nick is. I'm sure Nick owns a 4K version of Persona. So
if it's in a steelbook, right? That's the way
loves
that it works.
His steelbooks. Absolutely loves his steelbooks. But yeah, that'll do it for us today. Darren, where can folks find you? What can folks check out in your neck of the woods? Your podcast, The 250. Everyone check it out.
Yes.
Plug.
That's releasing a new episode this Saturday talking about like the Snow White remake starring Richard Zegler, a totally normal movie that people have totally normal opinions about. The fantastic Ciara Maloney, who is the film reviewer at Current Affairs, the wonderful Luke Dunn, who's the head of film in Dublin, are joining us for that discussion. It is 3 hours long, and I am very sorry for that. And then also, like, my articles are on the Patreon at, like, Second Wind. So after this weekend, you'll hear me talk about Karate Kid Legends, which is a very interesting movie. Half of it is good and half of it is not. And then it's so weird. It's like I'm out, and then it pulls me back in, and then it kicks me right back out. Whenever they do a montage, I am so in.
Yeah.
Like, whenever they do, like, Karate Kid montages where it's just mundane tasks over and over again set to a poppy soundtrack, I am so in. And whenever they're like, here's lore, I am so out.
You're like, fuck it, this is done. Yeah.
Yeah, so that, and I'll probably talk about Doctor Who as well. And then next week, myself and Jesse are editing a backdrop video on the Predator franchise, which I'm very excited about. Perfect. So check all those out.
I'm doing a Prey rewatch.
Prey is fantastic.
Great movie.
Such a good movie.
Cool. Yeah, and then on the stream front, we'll be back later this evening, normal time for Firelink. And then tomorrow at noon, the DevHeads crew will be playing some Elden Ring Night Rain, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much, Darren, for joining us for this Last of Us bonanza. Oh my God, and before we end, Beast March with a $132 donation. Deep Red just yells Persona. Incredible. Nick?
So how does Nick feel about it? Is he excited or is it persona non grata?
I I like it. I like it. I'm going to be honest. I like it. He says he doesn't like it, but he secretly likes it. The problem is
Okay.
we do one of these streams every year. So think about how we were saying how it's confusing when a show comes back after a few years to know what's going
Yeah.
on. We've been
Oh.
playing this game for it's like a 100-hour game that we've been playing since 2021, and we're only like a third through it. So
Is it like a year gap? I know you need to go get a drink, but is
Yeah.
it a year gap between 8-hour chunks?
it has literally been, I think it was last
Wow.
summer the last time we
Okay.
did it. So
Incredible.
a genuine
Okay.
nightmare. But thank you so much, Be Smart, and everyone else who donated for making that funding goal. We'll probably get that on the books for late June or sometime in July. But yeah, Darren, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you everyone who watched on. Everyone on Patreon, everyone on YouTube, everyone on Twitch. We appreciate each and every one of you. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoons, y'all, and we'll see y'all later. Bye, everybody.
Take care, guys. Bye. Bye.